Chapter 540. Fong Yin didn't take the paper from the martial addict and said, I already said, I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight with you, and I can't beat you. How can you be like this? I'm not related to you at all. What right do you have to force me? Don't you know you're being very annoying? The martial addict opened his mouth and laughed. His smile was neither warm nor pleasant. His eyes couldn't even be found. He spoke with a proud expression. I don't care if other people like it or not. That has nothing to do with me. I only want someone to fight with me. I like you, so you have to fight with me. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. I'm very busy. I won't go to the one-sword peak, Fong Yin said firmly, not wanting to give him even the slightest bit of hope. I'm working right now. I can't chat with you anymore. Saying so, Fong Yin turned around and left. Fong Yin, dash, Ho Jindong shouted from behind. Fong Yin turned around to look at Ho Jindong and asked, Senior martial addict, is there anything else? I saw you practicing Tai Chi just now. Although it was unintentional, I still managed to see through in advance. The martial addict smirked. If that's the case, the one-sword peak tournament in 3 days will be very unfair to you. Boy, watch carefully. The martial addict Ho's eyes trembled a bit, then raised his right foot and stomped down. Pow! A dull sound was heard. The earth didn't give birth to lightning. The Rosefinch River didn't have any waves. Not even dust was kicked up under his feet. The flowers were still flowers. The trees were still trees. The grass was still swaying. The green leaves were still swaying with the wind. It was as if nothing had happened, as if there were no supernatural phenomena, like when a peerless master used his ultimate skill. But Fong Yin knew that things weren't that simple. The martial addict purposely told him to stop and watch carefully. If he only saw him stomp his foot, then he wouldn't be a martial addict but an idiot. The martial addict saw Fong Yin practicing Tai Chi just now. If he wanted to show his fairness, he would have to show his true abilities. Sure enough, Fong Yin's guess was correct. Whoosh! On a big tree next to Fong Yin, a leaf swayed and fell. Fong Yin stretched out his hand and let the leaf fall into his palm. The lush green leaves turned yellow and withered when they landed on Fong Yin's palm. At the same time that the leaves turned from green to yellow, the tree with thick branches also changed. First, the leaves fell off crazily, as if they were swept away by a gale. Then, the originally sturdy tree branches also fell, as if an invisible giant axe was quickly chopping them off. Branches of different sizes fell to the ground, making crackling noises. Immediately after that, the trunk of the big tree also began to turn from green to yellow. After its vitality disappeared, the trunk burst open and fell to the ground with a boom, turning into a pile of wood waste. This scene was too fresh and too mysterious. Fong Yin watched helplessly as the first leaf fell. He watched helplessly as the branches broke. He watched helplessly as the big tree collapsed. It was as if he was watching a magnificent magic show, a wonderful magic trick. Hitting the cow across the mountain, Fong Yin murmured. When we read martial arts novels, we often see the move hitting the cow across the mountain. Because the name of the move had the word cow in it, many people mistakenly thought that the power of this move was ordinary. If it was a name like Nine Yang Divine Art or Heaven and Earth Great Shift, it would be obvious that it was the world's top kung fu. Shouldn't hitting the cow across the mountain be a skill that even the loafers in the neighboring village could use? You can't judge a book by its cover, and it was the same with kung fu. Even if it was understood from the literal meaning, being able to kill a cow across the mountain, this kind of kung fu could be called a miracle, right? Borrowing force to exert force, using 4 tails to move 1,000 taels of gold. This was already a profound kung fu in the inner Jianghu. If one could borrow force to transfer qi, it would be like how the physician King Qin Luo used a silver needle to perform the unpredictable divine tying needle. That was also a beginner version of hitting the cow across the mountain. To be able to kill a tree 2 meters away from him with just a stomp of his foot like the martial fanatic did, this kind of hitting a cow across a mountain was no longer the hitting a cow across a mountain that the outside world knew about, but it was an upgraded version of their technique. If the target of his force just now was Fong Yin, what kind of consequences would there be? A real expert should have this kind of ability to turn something rotten into something magical, using falling leaves as swords, using flying petals to hurt people, and even ordinary moves could bring out extraordinary power. The martial fanatic belonged to this kind of person, and this was also the reason why he was praised as Huaxia's seven fanatics. Hitting the cow across the mountain, Olwood meeting spring. The sea of martial arts was boundless, but the path of seeking Tao was firm and long. When Fang Yin woke up from his deep thoughts, the martial fanatic Ho Jindong in front of him had already disappeared. On another tree hung a letter of challenge from the martial fanatic to Fang Yin. Fang Yin walked over and took down the letter of challenge. The calligraphy on it was extremely ugly. I heard that you are a young hero with great achievements in martial arts. I hope to have a duel with you. I will accompany you when you eat. I will watch over you when you sleep. I will follow you when you work. I will send you home. 3 days later, I will respectfully wait for you at the summit of One Sword Peak. Unknown but unknown. Fang Yin was dumbfounded. What kind of bullsh *T challenge is this? It's clearly a shameless, threatening letter. Okay? What is I will accompany you when you eat? I will accompany you when you sleep. I will watch over you when you work. I will follow you home. Isn't it just telling Fang Yin that if he doesn't duel with me, I will be like a follower around him, so that he can't do anything or say anything? Fang Yin really felt a headache coming on. If there was a character like the martial fanatic following him all day, it would really be a troublesome thing. You can't drive him away, he won't scold him, and beating him up is exactly what he wants. How much red packet did the 7 fanatics of Huaxia receive from him? Why did they praise this kind of rogue to such a high position? Fang Yin rolled up the letter of challenge in his hand, and then with a flick of his finger, it flew into the water of the Rosefinch River. The paper was soaked by the river water, and then slowly dispersed and sank to the bottom of the river. I won't fight. Fang Yin made up his mind. When Fang Yin crossed the Rosefinch Bridge and was about to return to the security office, he saw that there were 2 groups of students confronting each other in the woods by the Rosefinch River. Students are young and impetuous, and quarrels and fights are common. But because of the school's strict rules, the majority of students resolve their small conflicts outside of school. So don't leave after school, or see you in the school woods has become a threat that the students often say. It's really rare to see 2 groups of people collide on campus, especially after Zhongde became the principal of the school. This kind of thing is extremely rare. One side only has 2 students, the other side has 5 or 6 students. It was obvious that the side with more people had surrounded the side with fewer people. Blocking people, this is also something that students often do. A tall boy stood in front of the group. His eyes fiercely stared at the boy wearing glasses in front of him, and said, Li Xiaoqiao, I'm warning you. Don't have any ideas about Wang Yin. She is the woman I like. Mature men intelligently call the woman they like girl. Only those children who haven't grown up yet will call their boyfriend or girlfriend my man or my woman. She is my girlfriend, Li Xiaoqiao retorted. Even though he knew that the other side has more people, and his only teammate is still trembling and hiding behind him, but the young man's face and dignity made him not willing to back down. Just because you say it's your girlfriend, then it's your girlfriend? The tall boy, very dissatisfied, said, I also said she is my wife. Does that mean other men can't chase her? She has always been my girlfriend. Li Xiaoqiao's eyes were red, but his voice was still firm. She's not your girlfriend. She's just with you for the time being. The tall boy tried to argue. Today I came to find you to talk about this matter. Li Xiaoqiao, take the initiative to break up with Wang Yin. Why? Aren't you just asking nonsense? Didn't I just say it? Because I like her. The tall boy was clearly a bit impatient. Kid, is there something wrong with your head? I already said it so clearly. Why are you still asking so many questions? Impossible, Li Xiaoqiao stubbornly said. The one Wang Yin likes is me. I also like Wang Yin. I will not break up with her. Li Xiaoqiao, there's no point in saying that, the tall boy said. We're all classmates. Don't force me to hit you. If you hit me, I'll tell the teacher. If you tell the teacher, I'll hit you every time I see you. If you hit me even once, I'll tell the teacher. The school will expel you. TSH, you think the school is run by you. You can expel me just because you say so? Li Xiao, I have a lot of friends outside of the school. If they hit you, the school won't be able to find out that I sent people to hit you, right? Do you think anyone will believe you? Lu Yong, you're bullying people. So what if I'm bullying you? No one can be sure what kind of idiotic things you said or did when you were young. Fong Yin shook his head, walked out of the forest, and spoke to the two groups of students. Both of you, come with me to the security office. Lu Yong didn't expect there to be someone else in the forest, looked at Fong Yin for a bit, and asked, "Who are you?" "I'm the security officer." Fong Yin smiled and answered, "Let's go. We'll go to the security office and solve your relationship problems together." Lu Yong hasn't seen Fong Yin before, so he asked his friends in a low voice, "You've seen him before?" "I've seen him patrolling the school gate," a young fatso boy whispered. Lu Yong finally believed him, smiled at Fong Yin, and said, "We're just joking. There's no need to go to the security office, right?" "Right, we still have class." By saying so, Lu Yong turned around, wanting to run away. Fong Yin grabbed Lu Yong's neck and said, "I think you're missing a love counselor. I happen to be quite good at this." Chapter 541. Security Office. Fong Yin looked at the students standing in front of him and said, "Tell me, what's going on?" Li Xiao glanced at Fong Yin and lowered his head without saying anything. Lu Yong said with a smile, "Teacher, we were just joking." "Is it Li Xiao?" There are countless high school students who fell in love, but the school had a rule that forbade relationships. Regardless of whether it was Li Xiao, who was in the right in this conflict, or Lu Yong, who was not in the right, they did not want their relationship to be known or involved by the school. It would be even worse if they were asked to go back and call their parents. Li Xiao didn't want to become Lu Yong's puppet, but he also didn't want the school's teachers or parents to know that he was in a relationship with his classmate. So he said in a deep voice, "We were just joking. It's nothing." Fong Yin looked at Li Xiao and said, "I know what you were worried about, but have you ever thought about it? If I pretend to believe that nothing happened between the two of you, after you walk out of my place, he will once again bring people to block you and separate you from your girlfriend. Your girlfriend's name is Wang Yin? What will you do then?" If he agreed, it would seem that he was too irresponsible and spineless. If he refused, he and his friends might beat him up. Are you willing to accept such an outcome? "Teacher," Lu Yong still wanted to explain. Fong Yin looked at him sharply and said, "Lu Yong, I saw it all. Are you going to lie to my face?" Li Xiao hesitated for a long time, then finally said, "I'm in love with Class 9's Wang Yin. He forced me and Wang Yin to separate." "Li Xiao, you idiot." Lu Yong cursed. "If I die, you won't be able to escape either." Fong Yin looked at Lu Yong and asked, "Is that so?" Lu Yong and Fong Yin looked at each other for a while before saying helplessly, "Yes." Fong Yin nodded and asked, "Why did you separate Li Xiao from his girlfriend?" "Because I like Wang Yin." "Because you like Wang Yin, you want to separate Li Xiao and Wang Yin?" Fong Yin asked. Young people's views on love were so simple and direct. "Because I like this person, so you can't be with this person." "Because you like a dress, somebody else has to take it off." "Because you like a sports car, others have to give up their sports cars." "Because you like this earth, others have to move to Mars." "Is that it?" "That's different," Lu Yong argued. "Which aspect is different?" "Clothes are clothes, sport cars are sports cars. They're different from girlfriends." "You mean I can't give you the clothes or the sports car, but I can give you the girlfriend?" "From what you know, you can't even give up clothes and sports cars. Why do you think you can give up your girlfriend?" "That's not what I meant. I don't think I can sell my girlfriend." "Then what did you do to Li Xiao mean?" "I just feel that Wang Yin and I are more suited for each other." "What if after Wang Yin gets together with you, someone feels that he and Wang Yin are more suitable and wants you to break up with her?" "I fought him with all my might." "Look, if you can't do it yourself, how can you expect someone else to do it?" Fong Yin asked with a smile. Lu Yong looked at Li Xiao and said with an embarrassed expression, "This is my fault, Li Xiao. "I'm sorry." Li Xiao didn't expect Lu Yong to apologize to him. Slightly surprised, he smiled and said, "It's fine. It's all in the past anyway." Fong Yin looked at Lu Yong and asked, "Have you given up yet?" Lu Yong looked at Fong Yin with a strange expression and said, "Teacher, don't teachers forbid students from dating? How did I openly discuss this issue with you guys?" "That's right," Lu Yong nodded. If other teachers find out who's in a relationship, they'll either pull you to the office to scold you or ask you to write a self-reflection letter. Is it useful? Fang Yin asked. What? I mean, if a teacher pulls you to the office to scold you, ask you to write a self-reflection letter, or ask your parents to come, can you guarantee that you won't be in a relationship again? I don't think so. Lu Yong's face turned red and said, this kind of thing, how can it be broken just like that? Isn't it too embarrassing? Then what do you think now? I think it's wrong to separate Li Xiaoqiao from his girlfriend. I will compete fairly with him in the future, Lu Yong said. Fang Yin nodded and said, you can go back to class. Lu Yong looked at Fang Yin with a puzzled face and said, can I really go? You still want to stay? No. Lu Yong waved his hand and said, you won't tell our monitor about this, will you? Who's your monitor? Haha, it's okay. Lu Yong hurriedly led his friends to escape. Lu Yong felt that it was too strange. Didn't the security guards like to tell things to the class teacher? How come this security guard didn't say a word and let me go back to class, as if nothing happened? After Lu Yong left, Fang Yin glanced at the student standing next to Li Xiaoqiao and said, you also go back to class. Thank you, teacher. The boy was relieved. He bowed to Fang Yin and then ran away without looking back. At this time, there were only two people in the security room, Fang Yin and Li Xiaoqiao. How does it feel to be in love? Fang Yin looked at Li Xiaoqiao and asked. Teacher. Li Xiaoqiao's expression was coy. He was not used to talking about love affairs with his teacher. Every day, I have to make several phone calls, send countless messages every day, and frequently pass small notes in class. I want to buy delicious food for her. I want to bring her to a good cafe. I want to be with her all the time. I can't help but want to smile when I think of her. I feel very sweet. Li Xiaoqiao looked at Fang Yin with his mouth wide open. How does this guy know everything? I've also had the same experience. Fang Yin said with a smile. When he fell in love with Phoenix, it was the same feeling. He wanted to give her the best things in the world, as long as she gave him a smile. Li Xiaoqiao was relieved. He blushed and said, I don't know what happened. I just like her all of a sudden. I know this isn't good, but I don't know what to do about it. Why do you think this isn't good? Fang Yin asked. Li Xiaoqiao was stunned for a while, then said, the school forbids love. The teacher also said it would affect our studies. Do you think it's affecting your studies? No. Li Xiaoqiao said, every time I take an exam, I've always been first in class in the past and the future. What about Wang Yin? Her academic performance has never been very good. If your love doesn't affect your studies, not only does it not affect you, but you can also encourage each other and improve together. Would the teachers still use this reason to stop you? Li Xiaoqiao blankly looked at Fang Yin and said, Teacher, what do you mean? Fang Yin smiled and said, Actually, I don't mean anything. You're no longer a child. You already have your own thoughts. If we tell you what you must do or what you can't do, you'll have a rebellious mentality instead. I just want to tell you that you have to think carefully before you do anything. If you feel that what you're doing is right, that it's beneficial to your life and future, then seriously don't let them down. Don't let others down, and especially don't let yourself down. Li Xiaoqiao thoughtfully looked at Fang Yin. I don't expect you to understand in an instant, but you still have a lot of time to think about it. Fang Yin waved his hand and said, Go back to class. Li Xiaoqiao bowed deeply to Fang Yin and said, Thank you, teacher. I understand what I should do. When Fang Yin came out of the office, he just happened to see Baldy running in from outside. Baldy glanced inside the office and said, Where are those bastards? What bastards? Fang Yin asked. They said you brought a group of students to the office. Did those bastards get into a fight again? Baldy asked with concern. Is everything okay? Nothing, Fang Yin said. I asked them to investigate something, and they've already gone back to class. That's good. Baldy was relieved. I'm just afraid of the students fighting. They're all hot-tempered kids. They won't hold back even the slightest bit. By the way, are you okay today? What's wrong? Fang Yin looked at Baldy cautiously and asked. It's nothing, it's just that. Someone wants to see you. Who? Fang Yin thought for a bit and asked. Is it Su Qi? I've talked to that girl before, and I think she's not bad, Baldy, but I've already told her very clearly that Mr. Fang already has a girlfriend, and that she shouldn't have any delusions, and that she should study hard and improve every day. Make herself better so that she can find a better partner in the future. Fong Yin smiled and said, just do your job. My job is to ensure the safety of the students and teachers in the school, Baldy said. Not just personal safety, but also emotional safety. Fong Yin felt that Baldy had the potential to become a philosopher. Mr. Fong, let's go eat hot pot after work. Baldy pulled Fong Yin's arm and said, we'll go Dutch. I won't take advantage of you. After work, Fong Yin drove back and found a black Mercedes-Benz following him. Fong Yin turned the car to the side of Swan Lake, and the black Mercedes-Benz followed. The car window rolled down, and a woman with delicate features looked at Fong Yin and said, Fong Yin, buy me a drink. Chapter 542. The Mercedes-Benz and BMW were very close to each other, so Fong Yin was not far from the woman. Fong Yin looked at this woman who was definitely not supposed to appear here and say such words to him with a puzzled expression. He asked, did you find the wrong person? I am not looking for the wrong person. The person I am looking for is you. Fong Yin. Jiang Shangxin confirmed her stance once again as she looked into Fong Yin's eyes with an extremely determined gaze. Treat me to a drink. Why? Fong Yin asked. Why me? Fong Yin felt that this woman was too weird. Why him? She was the daughter of the Jiang family. If she wanted a drink, she should look for someone from the Jiang family. Jiang Junling or someone else from the Jiang family. She was Jiang Zhulio's woman. If she wanted a drink, she should look for her husband, Jiang Zhulu, or someone else who was close to her. Why him? Wasn't she clear enough? She was the thorn in Jiang Junling's side, the thorn in Jiang Zhulio's flesh, and the mortal enemy of the Jiang family and the Jiang family. If Fong Yan's guess was right, they would push the blame for the tragic deaths of Feng Xing and Shangxin's father on him. Why did she ask the enemy who killed her father to treat her to a drink? Fong Yan's first reaction was that this was a conspiracy, a trap, and a honey trap. Fong Yin scoffed at this behavior. Who do they think he was? Was he the kind of man who would be easily tempted by beauty? He looked at Jiang Shangxin's pretty face seriously. As he was taller than Jiang Shangxin and his eyes were very bright, he was able to see the large patch of snow white at the collar of Jiang Shangxin's white satin shirt. Gulp, gulp. Fong Yin swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva and felt a little thirsty. Because I couldn't find anyone else, Jiang Shangxin said. Her expression was gloomy and her voice was low. She looked like a pitiful child who had been wronged but couldn't voice it out. Fong Yin had not expected her to give such an answer. Based on her understanding of Jiang Shangxin, she was a very proud girl. To make a proud person admit that he wanted a drink but couldn't find anyone else. It seemed that this was indeed a well-designed honey trap. Fong Yin was too angry. He didn't expect his opponent to be so insidious and cunning. He actually used such a despicable and wretched method. Who did they think they were? Fong Yin decided to challenge his weakness. As such, Fong Yin looked at Jiang Shangxin and said, I'm fine with tea, but I'm not familiar with bars. Follow me, Jiang Shangxin said. As she spoke, she had already rolled up the window. Then he started the car and led the way. Fong Yan's fingers tapped on the steering wheel, and his body softly leaned against the leather seat. With a faint smile on his face, he said, How interesting. Seeing that the black Mercedes-Benz was about to leave his sight, Fong Yin stepped on the accelerator, and the car rushed toward the Mercedes-Benz in front like a stallion in heat. King! The King Bar. Jiang Shangxin parked the car at the entrance of the bar and stood there, waiting for Fong Yin to arrive. Fong Yin parked the car. Just as he got out of the car, Jiang Shangxin took the initiative to hug his arm. A strong fragrance wafted over. It was a very seductive perfume that Jiang Shangxin used. Fong Yin's sense of smell was very sensitive. He knew that this was not just a simple perfume, but also the natural body fragrance of a mature woman. When the two fragrances mixed together, it gave one an impulse to let one's imagination run wild. Furthermore, Jiang Shangxin was wearing a mid-sleeved shirt. When she hugged Fong Yin, a small part of her arm was in close contact with Fong Yan's body. When they were walking, their bodies would touch from time to time. As long as Fong Yin exerted a little force, he would be able to knead her into his body. Such a charming little beauty took the initiative to approach him without any precaution. Even if Fong Yin had the ability to remain calm and composed, he still felt a sense of defeat. He was afraid that he would accidentally turn into a big bad wolf and eat the little white rabbit in front of him. What was worse was that this woman was Jiang Julio's wife. Damn it, why did he feel so crazy and excited when he thought of this? Fong Yin dodged to the side and said, "Isn't this a little inappropriate? Everyone is like this." Jiang Shangxin held Fong Yan's arm and walked straight into the bar, not caring about Fong Yan's feelings at all. "You didn't approach me on purpose to get Jiang Zhulu to catch you in the act, right?" Fong Yin asked worriedly. A sarcastic smile appeared on Jiang Shangxin's face, and she said, "Fong Yin, you don't have to test him anymore." Given Jiang Julio's character, he would pretend not to know even if he knew that I rolled around in bed with another man. What's the point of catching him in the act? Exposing his wife's affair with another man and letting more people know about it, then losing his dignity. Do you think Jiang Zhulu would do such a stupid thing? Fong Yin thought about it and said, "Indeed, he wouldn't. This doesn't fit his style." "Would you?" Jiang Shangxin asked. "My wife wouldn't betray me." Fong Yin said, "You're really confident. Whoever snatches a good husband like me would cover their mouth and secretly laugh. Every 1st and 15th day of the lunar month, they would offer more incense to Guanyin Bodhisattva. It was still early, and there weren't many people in the bar. American rock music was playing in the bar, but it wasn't as violent and crazy as it was during the climax of the night." Fong Yin thought that Jiang Shangxin would bring him to the lobby of the bar or find a seat at the bar counter. Unexpectedly, Jiang Shangxin didn't enter the interior of the bar, but directly entered a passage at the side. There was an elevator at the end of the passage, and there were 2 bodyguards in black waiting at the door. When the 2 of them walked over, the bodyguards in black looked at them warily. Jiang Shangxin took out a black card from her pocket, and the bodyguard in black bowed deeply when he saw it. The other bodyguard immediately turned around and pressed the elevator button, and the door of the elevator opened to them very quickly. While Fong Yin was still thinking about where the elevator was going to take them, Jiang Shangxin had already pulled Fong Yan's arm into the elevator. Fong Yan's foot stepped on the elevator, and the door couldn't close, so it sounded an alarm. Jiang Shangxin turned around and looked at Fong Yin. With a flirtatious smile in her eyes, she said, "Are you afraid?" "Where to?" "Fong Yin, I thought you're not afraid of anything. I am afraid of death." Fong Yin said. Jiang Shangxin chuckled and said, "I am afraid of death too, so I asked you to buy me a drink. Don't worry, I can't eat you up." Fong Yin looked at Jiang Shangxin's eyes, and there was a trace of sadness that couldn't be hidden. Fong Yin finally retracted his foot. The door of the elevator closed and slowly descended. Clang! When the door of the elevator opened again, a deafening noise and rolling heat waves rushed toward them. Fong Yin was stunned for a moment, and then he understood what kind of place this was. The underground boxing arena was also known as the underground boxing market. In order to attract customers, some bars would hire some boxing experts to come over and fight. Every punch hit the flesh, and the blood was boiling. In the process of killing and fighting, countless spectators screamed crazily, releasing the fatigue in their bodies and the hostility in their hearts to their heart's content. This was indeed a very good place, a place that was very suitable for Jiang Shangxin at this moment. It was also a place that was very suitable for Fong Yin at this moment. Although Fong Yin didn't like the murky air in the underground bar, he liked the passion and heat that collided with each other. He suddenly wanted to drink a large glass of cold beer that emitted the aroma of malt. He gulped it down in one go, causing goosebumps to rise all over his body, causing every pore on his body to stand on end. Jiang Shangxin brought Fong Yin to a tea stage at the side of the boxing arena and shouted at the waiter who was walking over, 2 bottles of beer. Fong Yin took a look at Jiang Shangxin and grinned. Sometimes, this woman was quite understanding. The waiter quickly served the beer, and there was a large glass filled with golden liquid. As it was filled to the brim, the foam of the beer was flowing out. Before he even tasted it, the aroma of wheat wafted over. Jiang Shangxin picked up a glass of cold beer and raised it to Fong Yin. She said, "Come, Fong Yin, let me give you a toast. Thank you for treating me to this drink." Fong Yin smiled bitterly and said, "It seems more like you are treating me to this drink. This is my first time coming to this place, and they didn't seem to collect money from us just now. In that case, thank you for drinking with me." Jiang Shangxin said. No matter what the reason was, she had already raised a glass and started gulping down the beer as she spoke. Her cheeks were exquisite, and her neck was slender. Women who came from wealthy families had a noble aura and elegant behavior. When she gulped down the beer like a man, the alcohol flowed out from the corner of her mouth, giving off a bold and sexy vibe. Jiang Shangxin drank half of the glass in one go. Then she looked at Fong Yin and said, "Why aren't you drinking? Why aren't you drinking?" Fong Yin picked up the glass and took a sip. He said, "I feel that this matter is a little weird." "What's weird?" "The two of us shouldn't sit together and drink." Fong Yin said, we have different standpoints." "What are different standpoints?" Jiang Shangxin interrupted Fong Yin's words. She stared at Fong Yin with a sharp gaze and said, "Do I have the same standpoints as Jiang Junling? Do I have the same standpoints as Jiang Zhulu? Do you think that I should look for them to drink together?" Fong Yin thought about it, raised his glass, and said, "Let me give you a toast." "Toast me for what?" "To your compromise," Fong Yin said. Chapter 543. To your grievances, to your anger and indignation, to your loneliness and helplessness, and to your strength and bravery. Jiang Shangxin had been holding it in for the past few days. She felt that she was about to explode. She was like a vacuum-packed fish. She breathed with all her might and struggled over and over again. In the end, she could only spit out bubbles helplessly. Her body was getting weaker and weaker, and her consciousness was getting more and more blurry. She was going to die. She knew that she was going to die if she didn't do something. What kind of woman am I? Jiang Shangxin gulped down a big mouthful of wine and slammed the table in front of her. She looked at Fong Yin, who was sitting opposite her, and shouted, "I am a woman from the Jiang family." "Who is the Jiang family?" "The Jiang family is the Jiang family. Is the Jiang family that everyone envies and fears. As long as you are a member of the Jiang family, you will definitely be the target of everyone's envy and fear. No matter how pretty or ugly you are, no matter how high your IQ is, you are at the top of society. Don't believe the nonsense that there is no hierarchy in this world. Those people who are high up in the hierarchy have terrifying connections and influence. They don't even need to do anything. They only need to frown or signal with their eyes, and those small characters who offend them will die without a burial place." Jiang Shangxin glanced at Fong Yin from the corner of her eyes and said, "Jiang Junling. Jiang Junling doesn't like you very much." Originally, he thought that he only needed to use his eyes to signal someone to get rid of you, but he didn't expect you to be like a cockroach that can't be killed. Your vitality is quite tenacious, and you make him suffer again and again, making him lose face again and again. "Evil will never win over good," Fong Yin said with a serious look. "I stand on the side of good, so he can't win over me." Jiang Shangxin laughed maniacally. She laughed so hard that she was swaying back and forth. She laughed so hard that her voluptuous chest swayed a few times, as if it was about to break through the cage of her shirt and appear right in front of Fong Yin. She pointed at Fong Yin with her finger that was smeared black and said in an extremely disdainful tone, "Fong Yin, what you said is nonsense. Do you believe in such nonsense? How many good people in the world have been wrongfully killed? At that time, why didn't anyone tell them that evil would never prevail over good? This was a society where strength was respected. Whoever has the bigger fist has the right to speak loudly." Shifting Shangxin's arm to the side, he pointed at the two boxers who were engaged in an intense battle in the arena and said, "Look at them. Who is evil and who is righteous? Would the side of justice be able to defeat the side of evil? The only difference is that they are risking their lives on the stage, while countless people are risking their lives off the stage." Fong Yin smiled and said, "You have your own ideas, and I have my own insistence. Our lifestyles are different. Living in that kind of environment, all you see and think about are those powerful people, those influential people who use all kinds of methods to obtain victory after victory. I live in a small village. Except for a few people I don't like, most of the people there are kind-hearted. They don't hesitate to shed blood for something that seems silly to outsiders. It has been passed down from generation to generation and has lasted for thousands of years. When I was young, I had always been thinking about how such a tribe could exist in this world. Until now, I still haven't figured out the answer to this question. Why does such a tribe exist? However, since it already exists, then there should be a reason for it to exist. What's worse is that I'm willing to die for it. I respect and admire those wise sages who have sacrificed themselves and those seniors who have sacrificed themselves. I wonder what kind of choice I would make if it were to be my turn one day. I didn't even think for too long before I got the answer in my heart. If it were to be my turn one day, I would make the same choice as them. My ancestors made such a choice, my great-grandfather made such a choice, my father and uncles made such a choice. How can it be broken when it comes to my generation? We have a custom where we come from. Whenever a descendant of a family dies in battle, the whole village will hang up a white banner. It doesn't matter if there were any disputes, quarrels, or who knocked out someone's front teeth, or who broke someone's arm. On that day, all grudges will be put down, and the deceased will be the most important. To me, these people are all righteous. They aren't even afraid of death, so why would they be afraid of the temporary dark clouds that cover the sun? Jiang Shangxin didn't expect Fang Yin to say such things to her. After being in a daze for a while, she asked, "The place that you're talking about is Swallow Dock?" "That's right." Fang Yin nodded. "General, get off the horse. Prime Minister. Swallow Dock. If there's a chance, I must go and take a look," Jiang Shangxin said with infinite longing. "Because of you, I know of such a place and its various legends. But I always feel that those legends are too far away, and those stories are too old. I feel that everything is exaggerated and made up. So, such a group of people really exists. Remember to park your car at the threshing ground at the entrance of the village." Fang Yin smiled and said, "Other than the cars of our own people in the village, all the cars that go to other places will be parked there." "I'll remember," Jiang Shangxin said. "Are you sending me an invitation?" "If I go to Swallow Dock, you'll entertain me, right?" Fang Yin smiled and asked, "Now, do you believe that evil will never prevail over good?" Jiang Shangxin shook her head and said, "I don't believe it. Just like what you said before, I've seen too many good people being purged and buried. This is a cannibalistic society, and some people will really open their bloody mouths to eat people. Just like you come from such a magical place. Do you have the confidence to defeat Jiang Junling? Even if you defeat Jiang Junling, there's still the powerful Jiang family behind him. Fang Yin, you might not understand, but you're only fighting against Jiang Junling now. To Jiang Junling, you're an opponent, but to the Jiang family, you're just a piece of stone to sharpen their blades. Either the knife is sharpened by the stone, or the stone cuts a hole in the knife. At most, they'll just change to another knife and continue to sharpen it. But have you ever thought that when you, the stone, cut off one knife after another from the Jiang family, when you make the Jiang family feel threatened, they'll come at you in full force. The sky will fall, the earth will crack, and the rivers will flow in reverse. At that time, will you still be able to withstand it? I know that the Jiang family order is the knife of the Jiang family. And I also know that the Jiang family is very powerful and makes people feel helpless." Fang Yin played with the tall beer mug in his hand and said, "But I can't just let them bully me without saying anything or doing anything, right? If that's the case, I'll become another good person being purged and buried by the bad guys." Fang Yin looked at Jiang Shangxin and said, "I know that your heart is filled with anger, and I can completely understand how you're feeling right now." "You can't understand," Jiang Shangxin sneered. "People who haven't experienced it shouldn't easily say that they can understand others. To a patient with cancer, don't tell him that you're as sad as him. You can't possibly be as sad as him, you're just saying it. When you walk out of the ward, you'll be able to see the blue sky and white clouds. You'll be able to breathe in fresh air, and you'll be able to continue your rich and colorful life. The patient, on the other hand, can only bid farewell to this world in fear and reluctance." Fang Yin was speechless. Look, not only were these women from wealthy families noble and elegant, even their words were so sharp and full of philosophy. Fang Yin, you said that I shouldn't look for you for a drink. Then, tell me, who should I look for a drink? Look for my brother, Jiang Junling? Look for my husband, Jiang Zhulu? Or should I look for my best friends who either follow the Jiang family's power or are afraid of the Jiang family's power? Can I tell them that my brother asked my husband to poison my father to death? Can I tell them that I hate them to the core, yet I still have to force a smile and pretend that nothing happened and that I don't know anything? There was a type of grievance that couldn't be vented. Your heart was bleeding, yet you still had to smile and chat with the people who stabbed you. Who could understand such pain? Jiang Shangxin picked up the beer mug in front of her and gulped it down. She shouted, "Waiter, give me another 2 bottles of beer." Fang Yin stopped her and said, "You can't drink anymore. You've already drunk too much." This was the 4th beer that Fang Yin and Jiang Shangxin had drunk. 4 1-liter bottles of draft beer was nothing to Fang Yin, but it was obviously too much for a girl. Furthermore, if Shangxin got drunk, Fang Yin would have to be responsible for sending her back later. Who would want to do such a troublesome thing? She wasn't his wife anyway. No way. I still want to drink. Jiang Shangxin was unhappy and said, "You're not willing to treat me to a drink? We're only at the beginning. I've only just started and you're not letting me drink anymore. This feeling of not being able to go up or down. Do you know how uncomfortable it is? Fang Yin, do you know that I'm going to die soon?" Fang Yin was helpless. He waved at the waiter and said, "Give me 2 more mugs of draft beer." As he spoke, he picked up the half-empty mug of beer in his hand and gulped it down. His principle was to drink a mug of beer with Jiang Shangxin. He wouldn't be at a disadvantage or take advantage of her. He wasn't an old drunkard who would fight for a drink with others. Fang Yin wanted to drink another mug of beer when he thought of the old drunkard. The waiter brought 2 1-liter bottles of beer over again. The sexy waitress in the bunny costume winked at Fang Yin when Jiang Shangxin wasn't paying attention. Perhaps she thought that Fang Yin, who had bought 8 mugs of draft beer in a row, was a big customer. Jiang Shangxin snatched a mug of beer from Jiang Shangxin and raised it to Fang Yin. "Come, a toast to my enemy who killed my father." Fang Yin had the urge to run away. Chapter 544. Waiter, 2 more bottles of beer. Waiter, 2 more bottles of beer. Waiter, 2 more bottles of beer. No, for more bottles of beer. Jiang Shangxin entered a drinking state, as if tomorrow was the end of the world. At this moment, she was possessed by the old drunkard, Yi Rou, Li Xiaotian, Zhu Zaidan, and even Fang Yin almost possessed her. She drank 2 glasses after another and drank 1 glass after another. She drank more and more alcohol, but the speed at which she drank was getting faster and faster. She really wanted to get drunk. She really wanted to get drunk. After Fang Yin tried to persuade him several times, but to no avail, he decided not to stop him anymore. If she drank 1 glass, he would drink 1 glass with her. If she drank 2 glasses, Fang Yin would drink 2 glasses with her. If it really didn't work, he would suffer some losses and send her back when she was drunk. Fang Yin. Jiang Shangxin's body was sprawled on the runway. If it wasn't for the support of the runway, she would have lost her balance. She looked at Fang Yin with her beautiful eyes and said, "Do you think that I'm ridiculous? Do you think that I, Jiang Shangxin, am an idiot? I also think that I'm ridiculous, and I know that I'm an idiot. But I have to find someone to talk to and drink with. Don't you think it's weird?" When Jiang Zhulu slapped me, I wasn't angry. I wasn't angry at all. I thought it was natural. I thought he should do something like that. At that time, he pressed me down on the sofa. I thought of you. I thought I must find a chance to drink with you. Why did I look for you? Jiang Shangxin reached out to play with her long hair so that it wouldn't block her vision. This action was very charming and was full of the temptation of a mature woman. I don't know either. I thought of everyone around me, but you were the only one I could think of drinking with. At least you wouldn't betray me. At least when I scolded Jiang Junling and Jiang Zhulu, you wouldn't turn around and repeat every single word I said to them. Isn't it very funny? I, Jiang Shangxin, have lived for so long, yet I can only trust my enemy. We are not enemies, Fang Yin said. Yes, we're not enemies. We're victims. You are a victim, and so am I. As Jiang Shangxin spoke, she reached out to hug Fang Yan's neck. Fang Yan's body leaned back slightly, and her body fell forward. Fang Yan hurriedly pushed forward and hugged her. She threw Shangxin into Fang Yan's arms and lifted her pretty face to look at Fang Yan. "Why'd you hide? Do you think I'm wrong? Or do you think I'm a shameless woman? I didn't mean that. I just thought," just as Fang Yan was thinking of a reason to explain himself, Jiang Shangxin had already pushed him away and was staggering toward the arena in the middle of the bar. In the arena, two men were fighting fiercely. They were wearing white wrestling pants and had a red and black belt on their waists. The man with the red belt was tall and strong, and his punches were fierce. The man with the black belt was short, but his movements were unusually agile. Both of them used their own unique moves and unique skills. Every time their fists collided with flesh, the spectators would erupt into cheers like a tsunami. Fang Yan couldn't understand why these people were so obsessed with this game. It was still so early, but there were already so many spectators gathered here. What Fang Yan didn't know was that this underground boxing arena opened for business in the afternoon. Some bars arranged fights for their customers, but most of them were underground boxing experts who wanted to earn a high prize. There were also some dojos or martial arts groups that specially selected their own seated fighters and sent them over. Not only was it for training, but it was also to earn a considerable amount of prize money after winning every match. For many martial artists who loved martial arts, their lives were quite poor. With Fang Yan's vision, he knew that the final winner would definitely be the man with the red belt. This fighter's punches were steady, and he knew when to advance and retreat. Although most of his attacks were dodged by his opponent, he was like a gorilla being played by a cunning monkey. However, when did you ever see a monkey beat a gorilla? The skinny player with the black belt was the monkey. He jumped up and down, rushing left and right. It seemed that he had the upper hand, and the gorilla was completely subdued. However, he had a fatal problem. His foundation was not stable, and his punches were weak. Although there was a saying that speed was the only thing that could not be broken in the world of martial arts. If your speed was not fast enough to pull away from others, then in the end, it still depended on the ingenuity of your strength. On this point, the monkey had no advantage. Sure enough, the gorilla faked and fell forward. When the monkey took the opportunity to sneak attack from behind, the gorilla's body turned 180 degrees, ignoring the monkey's dodge and fancy counterattack, and punched him in the cheek. Bang! The monkey screamed miserably. His body flew out and fell heavily on the floor not far away. Someone ran over and dragged the monkey away. More people cheered and applauded the gorilla on the stage. The gorilla waved his arms and shouted to the audience, "Who else? Who else? Who else dares to come up and challenge me? I am the best in the world. I am the best in the world." The audience applauded even more enthusiastically. Many people liked the domineering CEO demeanor of, "I am the best in the world, and you can't get rid of me even if you don't like me." To them, this was a man's fierce, too arrogant. Jiang Shangxin raised the beer mug in her hand and smashed it toward the gorilla on the arena. Bam! The beer mug smashed onto the stage floor and shattered. The sound of it shattering was not loud enough, but it was enough to attract everyone's attention. The audience stared at the transparent, flying object that suddenly fell on the arena in astonishment. They did not know what had happened. The gorilla stared blankly at the glass mug that had fallen at his feet. After a few seconds, he was completely enraged. He bared his fangs and roared at the audience. "Who is it? Which bastard threw something and sneaked an attack on me? If you are so capable, come up and fight with me. I will tear you into two." When Fang Yan saw that Jiang Shangxin had caused trouble, he hurried forward and dragged her away from the scene. This woman's alcohol tolerance was really bad. "How could she do anything? Don't pull me." Jiang Shangxin pushed Fang Yan's hand away and shouted toward the stage, "You gorilla, gorilla?" Fang Yan was stunned. He only felt that this contestant looked like a gorilla. Why did Shangxin call him a gorilla? Could this be a stage name? After Shangxin had drunk too much alcohol, she let out a drunken burp and continued to shout, "What is there to be proud of? With your mediocre skills, you're not even worthy of carrying my boyfriend's shoes." Fang Yan looked around and asked in a low voice, "Who is your boyfriend? Is he here?" If Jiang Shangxin's boyfriend was here, Fang Yin could throw this woman to him and go home to sleep. However, after Jiang Shangxin shouted this sentence, everyone's attention shifted to Fang Yin. When the gorilla was called a gorilla in public, he wanted to tear this beautiful woman into pieces. He could not bear to tear Jiang Shangxin into pieces, so he accumulated his hatred on Fang Yin. He wanted to tear Fang Yin into pieces so that no one would feel heartache. As for why he wanted to tear Fang Yin into pieces, who cared? He pointed at Fang Yin and shouted, "Gigolo, come up here." Fang Yin rejected him and smiled awkwardly. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not her boyfriend. My friend drank too much. I will bring her back first." After that, he ignored Jiang Shangxin's struggle and dragged her out of the bar. "Coward," someone in the audience shouted. "Gigolo, fight with him. Beat him to death. The girl will belong to whoever wins." Jiang Shangxin turned around and shouted at the gorilla on the stage, "If you can beat my boyfriend, I will sleep with you for a night." Fang Yin hurriedly reached out to cover Jiang Shangxin's mouth, but it was too late. "I will sleep with you for a night." This sentence was not very tempting when it came from the mouth of Fang Yingying and Fang Haoan. However, it was too lethal when it came from the mouth of such a beautiful woman like Jiang Shangxin. The gorilla swallowed his saliva and felt his blood boiling. He shouted at the audience, "Everyone here be my witness. Today I, Chun Dachui, will bring the beauty home and enjoy myself." Seeing that Fang Yin was dragging Jiang Shangxin toward the elevator, Chun Dachui panicked and shouted, "Gigolo, don't you dare run away." With a flick of his foot, he scooped up the glass shards in front of him and threw them toward Fang Yin's back. A strong gust of wind blew behind him, but Fang Yin spun Jiang Shangxin 90 degrees without looking back. Crack, crack, the glass shards hit the sturdy wall and turned into even finer shards. Chun Dachui was even more excited when he saw that Fang Yin had dodged his attack. He shouted at Fang Yin, "Gigolo, you are good at dodging, but I don't know how good you are at fighting. Come, let Grandpa give you a few punches. If you can beat me, you can take the woman and the prize. If you lose, I'm afraid that your life will be over." Those who were watching the show shouted at the gorilla, "Beat him to death! Beat him to death!" Jiang Shangxin, who was lying in Fang Yin's arms, had no intention of going back on her words. She gave the gorilla a thumbs up. The gorilla opened its mouth and laughed, but as it laughed, the smile on its face froze. This was because Jiang Shangxin had turned her thumb upside down in front of the gorilla. Humiliation. This was another humiliation. Then, she used 2 fingers as a gun and aimed at the gorilla's head. Bang! "You are dead," Jiang Shangxin said to the gorilla. Chapter 545. The gorilla couldn't hear what Jiang Shangxin was saying because he was quite a distance away. However, he saw Jiang Shangxin giving him a thumbs up and shooting him in the head. He saw her moving her red lips. With the gorilla's extraordinary intelligence, he knew that Jiang Shangxin wasn't saying anything nice. He felt insulted and looked down upon. Furthermore, he was being looked down upon by a beautiful woman whom he had never had the chance to interact with before. He was already a little proud and arrogant after winning the battle. Moreover, he was insulted in such a manner, causing his rage points to rise to the highest point. The gorilla roared into the sky, pointed at Fang Yin, and shouted, "If I don't tear you into pieces today, the gorilla, Chun Dachui, will write my name backwards. Lad, come up and fight with me if you're a man." What would a gorilla's name be written backwards? Gorilla? However, Fang Yin felt extremely depressed and aggrieved. Others were the ones who called him a gorilla, not him. I only called him that in my heart. Shangxin was the one who had provoked him, but he hadn't even said a single word. Why didn't you look for the person in question? Why did you have to tear him into pieces? "I don't want to fight," Fang Yin said. He dragged Jiang Shangxin and prepared to leave this place. He didn't provoke anyone. Why did he want to fight with someone? It would be fine if it was a suitable opponent, but who would want to fight with a gorilla? Was there a need to prove his intelligence by solving a math problem for elementary school students? Fang Yin pressed the elevator button and waited for the doors to open. "Coward! You were really a coward." Ha! A gigolo will always be a gigolo. Nice to look at, but useless. Chindachui, we support you. That girl is yours. Chindachui was also anxious. He jumped down from the arena and shouted at Fong Yin, Gigolo, you can leave if you want, but leave that woman here. In Chindachui's opinion, this woman was already a beauty in his bed. Didn't she say just now? As long as he won, her boyfriend would sleep with him for a night. As long as that gigolo agreed, he would be able to KO him in a second. Of course, even if he didn't agree, he could KO him in a second. In his opinion, Fong Yin wanting to escape was a coward. Regardless of whether he was afraid or not, Chandachui was determined to knock down a man and snatch a woman away. That was how capricious he was when he knew how to fight. Chandachui stood in front of Fong Yin, stretched out his hand, and said, Give her to me. Fong Yin hesitated and asked, Do you really want it? Chandachui chuckled and said, Aren't you talking nonsense? Chandachui, have never played with such a beautiful woman in my entire life. TSK, look at this face, look at this skin, look at this body, I can't give it to you. Fong Yin shook his head and said, She drank too much and is no longer conscious. It doesn't seem right to hand her over at this time. Brat, do you believe that I can tear you to pieces in a second? Why is it this line again? Fong Yin was really a little angry. If you are so capable, why don't you tear Shangshin into pieces? If you are so capable, come and do it. Let's see if the Jiang family will grind you into minced meat. Let's see if Jiang Zhulu will make your entire family die without a burial place. You only pick on the weak and bully the honest. You really have no morals at all. Bastard. What are you talking about? Chun Dachui sneered. Who is the Jiang family? Who is Jiang Zhulu? Let them come and find me and watch me tear them to pieces. Why don't you ask around? Who have I, Chandachui, ever been afraid of? Chandachui had never heard of the Jiang family, nor did he know who Jiang Zhulu was. Another two gigolos? The arrogant were afraid of the foolish, and the foolish were afraid of the reckless. Fong Yin really did not know how to deal with such reckless idiots. Give her to me. Chandachui shouted at Fong Yin again. I really can't give her to you. Fong Yin rejected him. You can do whatever you want when she's sober, but she's drunk now. I have the responsibility to protect her safety. Then don't blame me for being rude. As Chandachui spoke, he threw a punch at Fong Yan's face. His upper body was naked, revealing his firm and bulging muscles. Because his face and chest were injured during the fight, just now, there were also patches of purplish-red bruises on his body. These injuries were not serious, but they made him look even more powerful and ferocious. He flew into a rage and looked like an enraged gorilla. His clenched fist was like a giant hammer, smashing toward Fong Yan's head with a whistling sound. If it was an ordinary person, his head would definitely be sent flying after receiving such a blow from him. Even if it was an extraordinary person, he would probably become a vegetable after being punched by him. Fong Yin had heard before that underground fighters were very vicious. They would do anything during a fight, and when they attacked, they were all about killing with one blow. Using martial arts to show off. It was referring to these boorish men who fought underground. Fong Yin was furious. If he was a gigolo who was scolded by others, he would probably be beaten to death by this gorilla. So, he also clenched his fist and punched toward the gorilla's fist. Fong Yan's punch was ordinary, without any sharp energy or whistling fist wind. It looked like an ordinary punch from an ordinary person. The gorilla's face showed a sarcastic smile and said, Gigolo, you're courting death. Pa! Their fists collided. The gorilla didn't feel anything strange at first. He was looking forward to the moment when he sent Fong Yin flying with a punch and received thunderous applause from the audience. Wasn't this the only outcome? The gorilla was very confident in his fist strength. He had once tried to kill a strong bull with one punch. The bull was knocked to the ground by him. It wailed twice and died. However, he soon noticed that something was wrong. Fong Yin wasn't sent flying. He was still standing in the same place and sneered at him. What are you laughing at? What's so funny? Before he had time to think of such a thing, a majestic force suddenly attacked his fist. It was like a 1,000-pound boulder pressing on an egg, like a storm hitting a riverbank. It was a force that he couldn't resist. It was like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Crack, crack, crack. The gorilla's knuckles and arms crackled like beans popping, and then there was a sharp pain in his mind. Ah! He screamed and fell to the ground on the spot and fainted. Not only that, but his body, which was lying on the ground, was still twitching nonstop. Once, twice, thrice, it could be seen what kind of blow he had just suffered. This scene was too sudden and too nature-defying. Everyone was waiting, or rather, looking forward to the scene of Fong Yin being sent flying by the gorilla, kneeling on the ground and crying, and the gorilla carrying the little beauty away, laughing maniacally. How did such a shocking scene happen? Did the scriptwriter write the wrong script? That pretty boy, he actually knocked the gorilla out with one punch? The gorilla must have been paid to cooperate with the act. It was shameful to fake it. Shangxin lifted her head from Fong Yan's shoulder and opened her eyes. She looked at the gorilla on the ground in a daze, then looked at the side of Fong Yan's face and broke into a smile. It was a very sweet expression. Whoosh! A group of men dressed in black rushed over. An elderly man squatted down and checked the gorilla's breathing. He was slightly relieved and said, "He's still breathing." When he reached out to pull the gorilla up, he stared at Fong Yin in disbelief, as if he was struck by lightning. A middle-aged man next to him asked, "Old Go, what happened?" "Dachui, his right hand is crippled. All the bones are broken," Old Go said in a hoarse voice. Wow, there was an uproar. How could this guy be so powerful? Did he break Chun Dachui's bones with that move just now? Was this not an act? What? The middle-aged man was shocked. "Take him down." Hearing the middle-aged man's words, the men in black immediately surrounded Fong Yin. Gray stood up and stared at Fong Yin angrily. "How could you cripple someone's arm just now? How could you be so vicious?" Fong Yin looked at Gray expressionlessly and said, "Did you see him injuring me with his punch just now?" "Did he injure you?" Gray asked. "What if he did? Your skills are way better than his. How could you be injured by him?" The old man was even angrier. Fong Yin sneered and said, "When he punched me, did you know that my skills were way better than his? What if I don't know any kung fu at all? You're saying if... Yes, I'm saying if I didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, wouldn't I have been killed by that punch just now? Why didn't you say anything to stop him? Why didn't you say that he was vicious? You're twisting words and forcing logic." The middle-aged man shouted, "Now the facts are right in front of us. You crippled Dachui's arm for no reason. You must give Dachui an explanation. Give our club an explanation." Chun Dachui was an underground boxing expert trained by the True Martial Club. He was also one of the True Martial Club's most important money trees. Now that Fong Yin had crippled Chun Dachui's arm, it was a huge blow and loss to the True Martial Club. "That's right. You must give our club an explanation. If you don't give us an explanation, don't even think about leaving today. Brothers F***CK this guy. Let's spar with this little bastard." The True Martial Club's experts surrounding Fong Yin all shouted, ready to use their advantage in numbers to take down Fong Yin. How strong can a man who's holding a woman be? Although Chun Dachui was defeated by this kid, that was because that idiot underestimated him. They wouldn't make such a mistake again. Once they started fighting, they would be ruthless. They wouldn't give Fong Yin any chance to fight back. Fong Yin smiled at the middle-aged man and asked, "You want an explanation?" Chapter 546. That's right. You have to give us an explanation. There's no difference between breaking someone's arm and chopping off their head. You have ruined Dachui's life. If we let you go like this, the martial arts club will not be able to establish itself in the underworld. The middle-aged man said fiercely, "Life was like a box of chocolates. No one knew which one would grow worms. In one's life, one would meet all sorts of strange people. Some people would share the same attribute as you and become your friend, but most people would become strangers who brush shoulders with you. Some people would make you laugh and cry, while some people would make you want to beat them up and scream. This was too much of a bully. Jiang Shangxin was the instigator of this incident. If the gorilla really felt insulted, it would be natural for him to jump down and beat Jiang Shangxin up. Of course, from Fong Yin's point of view, he had the responsibility to protect Jiang Shangxin. At the very least, He couldn't let Jiang Shangxin get seriously injured. This was also the reason why Fang Yin was indifferent and refused to go on stage, even though the gorilla had repeatedly provoked him and even called him a gigolo. Fang Yin knew that he was in the wrong, and since he was in the wrong, he had to accept the other party's retaliation. Why was it that you could throw bottles at others, but others couldn't call you a gigolo and tear you apart? Fang Yin was really angry with the gorilla because he really wanted to tear him apart. When we watch movies, we often hear a familiar line: fists and kicks have no eyes. If it's a minor injury, it can lead to a fatal one. Since everyone in the underworld knows that fists and kicks have no eyes, they should be even more cautious. However, the gorilla didn't know what was going on and threw a punch at his head. Based on the strength that Fang Yin felt, that punch was enough to smash his head into pieces. It was like using a hammer to hit a hard-boiled egg. If Fang Yin was just an ordinary person, bullying others by force, injuring others with force, this was a huge taboo in the underworld. Using a killer move at the slightest disagreement. This was indeed the style of underground boxing players, but it wasn't something that Fang Yin could accept. He knew that in the underground boxing ring, people were beaten to death or crippled from time to time. However, he was just a bystander, an ordinary spectator in an underground bar. It was not appropriate for Chen Dachui to deal with him with the methods and moves that he used to deal with underground boxers. Therefore, Fang Yin struck out in anger and directly crippled one of the gorilla's arms. That man was too violent and lethal. He had to give him some punishment. Otherwise, his thoughts would be clouded again. When Chen Dachui repeatedly provoked and insulted Fang Yin, his fellow disciples did not say anything. When he punched out to end Fang Yin's life, his fellow disciples didn't say anything. Now that Fang Yin had defeated someone and destroyed Chen Dachui's arm, they jumped out to say that Fang Yin was vicious and wanted Fang Yin to give them an explanation. Did the experts of the inner river deserve to be bullied by outsiders? This is bullying, Fang Yin said with a smile. If I was killed by him, could you give me an explanation? Give my family an explanation? Would the true martial arts guild hall have a way to stand in the underworld then? You're talking about something that didn't happen at all. You're just making things up. What if Dachui's punch suddenly changed direction? What if it suddenly retracted when it hit your head? I said you wanted to kill me, and you didn't kill me. Would the judge sentence you for murder? The middle-aged man said. He pointed at Chen Dachui, who was lying on the ground, with a face full of regret. He said, a good seedling was destroyed by you, just like that. Even if he's fine, he can't fight anymore. Kid, if you don't give me an explanation, I can't let you. That's right. That pretty boy is too much of a bully. You can't just let him leave after beating him up. We're the only ones bullying others. When has the True Martial Arts Guild Hall ever been bullied like this? The members of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall and some other spectators also spoke up, fiercely condemning Fang Yin, who was holding a beauty in his arms. Smack! Fang Yin slapped the middle-aged man's face and asked with a smile, "Is this the explanation you want?" Stunned. Everyone was stunned. That pretty boy, he dared to hit someone? Did he know who he hit? He had just crippled the arm of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall's trump card, Chen Dachui, and now he hit the head of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall. Was he crazy? Wang Dongshu also thought that Fang Yin was crazy. If he wasn't crazy, how could he dare to slap his face when he was surrounded by the brothers of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall? However, he also felt that something was wrong. What exactly was wrong with him? Because he was thinking about this important question, he didn't make a crazy and powerful response to Fang Yin's slap in time. Oh yes, he remembered now. He was also a martial artist, one of the top masters in the True Martial Arts Guild Hall. Other than the old priest, Gulei, he was the face of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall. Logically speaking, when one was attacked by others, one's body would react naturally. One would either dodge or counterattack. This was the basic quality that a martial artist should have. However, why didn't he react when that pretty boy hit him? He didn't dodge. He took the slap head on. Before Wang Dongshu could figure out the answer to this question, the men behind him couldn't help but want to take action. Brothers, let's destroy this pretty boy, break both his legs. Curator, Hurry up and say something. Fong Yin hugged Shangxin tightly with one hand and let her head rest on his shoulder. That way, he could avoid getting hurt by accident or using her as a weapon if they were to really fight. You want to hit someone because you can't win? Fong Yin said with a wronged expression. Taking turns to fight? Is this the style of the true martial arts club? You can only win because you have more people. If you were so capable, why don't you fight me one by one? Let's fight one-on-one then. Just as the idiot spoke, he was sent flying by Golei's slap. If you want to die, don't drag everyone down with you. How could someone who could cripple Chindachui's arm be easy to deal with? Golei looked at Fong Yin cautiously and asked, Sir, what's your name? Do you guys want to know what's going on before you hit someone? Fong Yin didn't want to say his name. He was Fong Yin, the security guard of Rosefinch Secondary. After the previous lesson, he didn't want to bring any negative impact to the reputation of Rosefinch Secondary. From the moment you attacked, I knew that you were a martial artist. Every tree has its roots, and everyone has their own sect. You have to know your surname, name, and sect. There are too many people who come out to make a living in the underworld, and it's inevitable that there will be incidents like this, Golei said calmly. He was very interested in Fong Yin's background. He's just a nobody, don't take it to heart. Fong Yin said, I'll fight you one-on-one, but I'll call the police if it's a group fight. His name is Fong Yin. He's a teacher at Rosefinch Secondary. Someone shouted from the crowd. Fong Yin didn't expect his fame to be so high. He was recognized even when he went to the underground boxing market to watch a boxing match. Of course, Fong Yin also knew that because of his return after 3 years, and because of Du Qing's attachment and the series of battles of wits and courage with Jiang Junling using Huaqing as a chessboard, he had now risen to become one of the most influential and powerful people in Huaqing. As a famous person, he had to have the awareness of a famous person. It was normal for some of his admirers to know his name and appearance. Fong Yin, Golei chewed on the name and asked, just now I saw you use an internal boxing technique that Boro's forced to fight back. Is it Fong Tai Chi? Fong Yin looked at Golei in surprise and said with a smile, Old man, you're knowledgeable. My master is Fong Hui. So that's how it is. Golei sighed. Fong Tai Chi is an internal martial art. Chen Dachui is a fool who only knows how to polish his skin, muscles, and bones. How can he be your opponent? Fong Yin smiled and said, Let's call it a day, shall we? Golei shook his head and said, Even if this group of kids ganged up on you, I'm afraid they won't be able to keep you. Old Wang Dongxi was shocked. He knew that Fong Yin was powerful, but he didn't believe that Fong Yin was this powerful. There were more than a dozen people in the Zhenwu Guild Hall. Other than him and Golei, there were 4 or 5 good fighters. Although the other kids' fists were not strong enough, they could still use some strength. Why was it that in Golei's words, his own people were so weak? Golei looked at Wang Dongxiu and said, Curator, if you believe me, let me handle this. If you don't believe me, I'll leave now. Of course I believe you, old Ge. Wang Dongxiu saw that Golei was angry and quickly said. Gray nodded and turned his gaze back to Fong Yin. He said, I've met Big Brother Tiger's might once before. At that time, I was only a junior and didn't even have the chance to fight with Big Brother Tiger's might. Today, I'm able to meet Big Brother Tiger's might's descendant. Golei was a little embarrassed and said, Don't say that I'm bullying the young. Today, I'll be thick-skinned and ask you to fight with me. If I win, you have to give Dachui an explanation. If I lose, I'll forget about what happened today. Dachui's medical expenses and his future compensation will be borne by me. What do you think of that? Why would I say that you're bullying the young? You can't bully me anyway, Fong Yin said with a serious face. Even if I leave now, you can't stop me. Why do I have to fight with you? Golei's face turned green and white. His mouth was wide open, and he didn't know how to continue. This kid, bullying an old man, did dogs eat his conscience? Chapter 547. Fong Yan's reaction not only made Grace speechless, but even the bystanders felt that this kid had gone too far. An honest old man took the initiative to stand up and politely said, Let's have a fight. If I win, you'll have to give us an explanation. If I lose, you'll just walk away. Isn't this a normal thing to do? How could you reject others? That's reasonable and emotional, but how could you reject others? This kid is too hateful. Someone go up and beat him up. I'll pay 1 million for one of this kid's arms. Damn it, I've never seen a bastard more arrogant than him. People who don't respect the elderly are uncultured. This kind of man is disgusting. I won't even look at him. Gray was the True Martial Guild Hall's consecrator, and also a teacher of the True Martial Guild Hall. Seeing their teacher being bullied like this, his disciples and grand disciples couldn't hold back any longer. Teacher, I don't care who this kid is. Let me chop him up and feed him to the dogs. A bald man beat his chest and said fiercely. His teacher was being humiliated. He felt like he was going crazy. Brothers, let's not talk about Jianghu morality with people who don't care about Jianghu morality. Isn't he powerful? Isn't he good at fighting? Come, everyone, let's go together. I'll take the lead. A thin and tall man with a long braid roared. Olga, don't give this kid any face. He's climbing up the pole and then stepping on our faces. Wang Dongxiu, the head of the martial arts guild, had an extremely ugly expression on his face. Although Fang Yin was attacking Gray, Gray was their guild's signature. He wouldn't easily fight with others. How could the martial arts guild raise their heads in front of their friends in the outside world when he was being looked down upon like this? Gray opened his mouth to speak, but found that he didn't know where to start. He could only let out a long sigh. So what if it's Fang family Tai Chi? So the Fang family's Tai Chi people could bully others outside? I'm not a member of the True Martial Arts Guild. Before this, the members of the True Martial Arts Guild were the opponents of our Justice Guild. However, I can't let this matter go. Brat, you have to give the True Martial Arts Guild an explanation. Otherwise, don't even think of leaving this place today. If the True Martial Arts Guild doesn't agree to it, my brothers won't agree to it either. Fang Yin had incurred the wrath of the masses this time. Even the fighters from other guilds stood up to help him. Because of Fang Yan's uneducated words, almost the whole world stood against him. Jiang Shangxin finally got up from Fang Yan's embrace. Looking at the surroundings, she then looked at Fang Yan and said, "This started because of me. Why don't we shut up?" Fang Yan said. Jiang Shangxin could only shut up obediently. Fang Yan ignored the murderous gazes staring at him, nor did he care about the increasingly high temperature and tense atmosphere in the underground boxing field. He stared at Gray and asked, "Why didn't you stop it before?" "What did you say?" Gray asked. "Why didn't you stop Chandachui when he jumped down from the stage and chased after us? Why didn't you stop him when he was about to punch my head?" "You?" Gray's face was ashen. Fang Yin raised his voice and said, "As an elder and a senior in martial arts, shouldn't you stand up and reprimand your disciples at the first instance when they make a mistake or are about to hurt someone? I've come into contact with many elders. I have a grandfather too. I know very well that if I were in Chan Dachui's position, my grandfather would stand up and reprimand me when I insulted someone as a gigolo. He would force me to take the initiative to apologize to the person who was insulted. If I tried to kill someone without restraint, my grandfather would jump out and break one of my arms or one of my legs before my opponent could retaliate. A country cannot prosper without virtue, and a man cannot stand without virtue. Those who learn martial arts should pay special attention to martial art morality. If Elder Ge had stood up and told Chandachui that he was wrong, if Elder Ge had punished Chandachui before he punched me, then things wouldn't have developed to this stage, and you would still be a senior that I respect and adore. But you didn't do that. Some things have nothing to do with age, but are closely related to a person's moral character. It's naturally difficult for a man without virtue to stand up. I don't want him to stand up in front of me." Fang Yan's gaze was like a searchlight as it swept across the people who were staring at him. He said, "Ask yourselves, is it really because of what I said that you attacked me as a group? Is it really because I didn't respect the old man in front of me that I didn't want to respect? You have only found a way out, a pretext, a reason to propel yourselves to the moral high ground to lash and punish me. Just because I refuse an old man's challenge, you think I'm insulting him. Insulting an old man is a big crime, so I deserve to die? Whether it's a group fight or a one-on-one fight, you all think it's natural and righteous. I heard someone shout just now, we don't need to talk about Jianghu morality with people who don't care about Jiang morality. Isn't he powerful? Isn't he good at fighting? Come on, everyone, let's go together. Don't you feel good about this? When you beat me to the ground, you can still proudly spit on my face and scold me for being a despicable and shameless villain. You can even bully an old man. I wonder how bad your character is. At that time, don't you want to give yourself some applause? There's no more perfect counterattack than this. You can teach me a lesson, and you can win the applause and favor of the beautiful women around you. If you're lucky, someone might even offer to sleep with you, but when all of you were cheering and celebrating, what exactly did I do wrong? In order to protect a drunk woman, I wanted to take her away, and then I was scolded repeatedly and might even be punched to death, minus the complicated process in the middle. This is the original truth of the matter. Is this the reason why I should be despised and beaten up by all of you? The onlookers looked at each other and realized that what Fang Yin said made so much sense that they actually had no words to refute him. Jiang Shangxin stared at Fang Yin with a burning gaze and hugged Fang Yin's neck even more tightly. Her sexy red lips whispered into Fang Yin's ears. Fang Yin, I think I'm falling in love with you. When she spoke, her voice carried the malt fragrance of beer. Just listening to it was enough to make one drunk. Fang Yin shifted his gaze to Gray's face again and said, There's another important reason why I refuse to accept your challenge. I'm not in the wrong. You didn't stand out to punish Chindachui, so I did it on your behalf. I didn't do anything wrong. I won't bear any losses for something that I didn't do wrong. Also, when you challenged me, you said that if I lost, I had to give Chindachui an explanation. Even if I lost, why would I have to give him an explanation? Because he wanted to kill me, so it was wrong for me to destroy one of his arms. As for what you said about me being able to leave after I won, you were being generous at the expense of others. Fang Yin pointed at the group of boxers at the True Martial Arts Guild Hall, who were shouting that they wanted to tear him into pieces, and said, If I wanted to leave, with just you and these useless things, can you stop me? This was no longer an insult. It was pointing at someone's nose and scolding them. Whether I leave or stay depends entirely on my own attitude. If I want to leave, I'll leave. If I want to stay, I'll stay. Who could do anything about it? Jiang Shangxin's beautiful eyes widened and her little mouth opened wide. Her body trembled as if she had received a slight electric shock, giving her an uncontrollable sense of joy. She wanted to scream and scream. She wanted to tell the whole world something loudly. Or perhaps she wanted to lie quietly in his arms and look at him with the most adoration and infatuation in her eyes. In the past, when she had just started dating Jiang Zhulu, she felt that he was gentle, meticulous, scheming, and was a very charming man. However, she had never experienced this kind of feeling from Jiang Zhulu, this kind of majestic and heroic feeling that he was the only one in the world, even if there were millions of people around him. This was really a man who made one love him from the inside out, to the depths of one's soul. Fang Yin, Jiang Shangxin panted and whispered into Fang Yan's ear again. Not already. Not about to. I feel that I have already fallen in love with you. Her breath smelled like orchids, and her lips almost bit Fang Yan's earlobe. She did have such a thought, but she was forcefully suppressing her current behavior. Faced with such a charming man, she really wanted to serve him to the heavens and do anything for him willingly. Fang Yin felt that his ear was a little itchy. In such a serious occasion, at such an intense and exciting moment, this little woman was still lying in his arms and flirting with him. Was she crazy? He tilted his head slightly to one side so that he could stay further away from Jiang Shangxin's lips. This unromantic action made Jiang Shangxin angry. Her eyes widened and she gritted her teeth, wishing that she could bite off one of Fang Yan's ears. Fang Yin looked at Gray and the crowd that still surrounded him and said, I am a good person, so I naturally have to be reasonable in my words and actions. I am sorry, everyone, after my analysis just now. You should be clear that reason is still on my side. So, what do you plan to do next? Tear him apart. A disciple of the True Martial Arts Guild shouted. Fang Yin nodded and said, You see, actually most people are unreasonable. In the future, don't use the elderly as an excuse to attack others. Who did the elderly offend? As Fang Yin spoke, He had already kicked the disciple of the true martial arts guild who had pounced on him and shouted, "Tear him apart." More people pounced on Fang Yin. Chapter 548. Jiang Shangxin felt that she was about to fly. She kept flying from the sky to the sea, and from the sea to the forest. She had flown before, but this was the most enjoyable driving experience for her. Oh no, it was the experience of being driven. It was very strange that Jiang Shangxin did not feel afraid at all. When she was being hugged by Fang Yin and being beaten up by countless burly men, blood splattered everywhere, screams of pain, and the sound of bones breaking, she did not feel afraid at all. Her heart was filled with excitement. In order to maintain her soft and sexy figure, she did not practice Taekwondo like many socialites or hire a martial arts teacher to guide her. Other than practicing yoga for an hour every day, she would run 4 times a month. Other than that, she did not exercise at all. Other than letting others exercise, she did not have any ability to protect herself. The only thing she could do was to give herself to Fang Yin. She believed that Fang Yin would protect her, just like he did just now. She believed that Fang Yin would be able to protect herself. She did not doubt this at all. Isn't this too ridiculous? Even Jiang Shangxin felt that she was sick. No matter what, Fang Yin was her enemy. Before tonight, they were still in a life-and-death struggle. Why did she trust him so much? Why did she have so much confidence in him? Because Fang Yin is a good person, Jiang Shangxin thought to herself. Of course, she was very clear that this was not the only reason. In fact, it was not even the most important reason. There were so many good people in the world. Why did she only trust Fang Yin? Fang Yin was a charming man. Fang Yin was a man that people were infatuated with. Fang Yin was a man that she fell in love with. This is no longer ridiculous. It's a fantasy. Jiang Shangxin thought to herself. How could she fall in love with a man with only a few encounters? However, when this thought surfaced in her mind, Jiang Shangxin realized that she could not refute it. She could not convince herself. Fang Plum Blossom steps. Fang Yin's feet stepped on the plum blossoms, his body passing through the crowd like a gentle breeze. With a single punch, he sent a man in black, who was clenching his teeth and pouncing at him flying. The man's teeth fell out. With another lightning-fast step, the face of a big guy who was sneaking up on him turned the color of pig liver. He covered his crotch and squatted down. Drunken crane rides the wind. Fang Yin was like a drunkard who had too much to drink. He was holding a woman in his arms as he staggered in the crowd. Every time he hit someone with his shoulder or knee, the person who was hit would be sent flying, the bones in his body cracking. Iron skin. His body was like iron bones. Anyone who came into contact with it would be injured. The trump cards of the true Martial Guild Hall were indeed quite strong. Several of their punches were accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder. They were already showing signs of attaining a higher level. The most threatening ones were Gray and Wang Dongxiu, the curator of the True Martial Arts Guild Hall. The two of them were in the middle of the Jianghu and the Jianghu. They were the top figures in the Jianghu, but they could not enter the Jianghu. In other words, even though they knew the cultivation method, it was still difficult for them to enter the more profound and mysterious world of the Jianghu. Just like Fang Yan's disciple, Zhang Chun, who had been the champion of Huaqing Sanda for many years and was already a top expert in the Jianghu. However, when he met Fang Yin, he did not have the slightest bit of power to retaliate. This was the difference between understanding the force and using the qi. However, they could not stop Fang Yan's footsteps even if they worked together. They could not even hurt his hair and clothes. No matter how hard they tried, the gap was too big. Before they could even touch Fang Yan's body, they were sent flying by a heavy blow. It was like a chick and a goshawk, like a house cat and a wild leopard, like a gun and a cannon, and even more like an egg and a stone. An egg would not touch a stone. Would a basket of eggs be enough? Would a cart of eggs be enough? The answer was no. Bam, bam, bam. Gray did have a few tricks up his sleeve. Every time he punched out, there would be a loud sound of impact. That was the sound produced by his fist and the stirring of the air. His fists did not hurt anyone, but the force from his fists made one's face burn with pain. Of course, it made Shangxin's face burn with pain. Even though Fong Yin had her in his arms, she would definitely be the first target of those punches, kicks, elbows, and whatnot when facing the enemy head-on. She looked like a protective doll that Fong Yin had placed in front of him. Fong Yin took 3 quick steps, turned his body to Gray's left, and kicked him away with a black dragon swings its tail. Gulei retreated continuously and only managed to stand up with difficulty after Wang Dongshu supported him from behind. "Old Gu, are you all right?" Wang Dongshu asked with concern. When Gulei saw that Wang Dongshu was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, he knew that he had suffered an internal injury. With reddened eyes, he said, "Dongshu, this kid is tricky. Let him go. Don't let the kids be at a disadvantage." Wang Dongshu stared at Fong Yin fiercely and could not make the final decision. If he allowed Fong Yin to leave just like that, the martial arts club would lose a lot of face. After today's incident, the martial arts club could be completely removed from the underground boxing scene. If they could not even defeat one person, how could they still have the face to stand in the arena and fight with others? However, they had brought the entire club to attack Fong Yin. They even had some good friends who had volunteered to help. For example, Master Zheng from the Justice Boxing Club and Master Li from the Great Accomplishment Boxing Club. Of course, they were all lying on the ground and howling in pain. If they could not even take down that kid with such strength and made him suffer a few punches and kicks, was there still a need to continue fighting this battle? Even if they persisted, not only would more members of the club get injured, but Gulei and himself would also not end up well. From the way he dealt with Chindachui, it could be seen that this kid was ruthless. If they really enraged him, Wang Dongshu hesitated for a moment and said, pretending to be in a difficult position, "Since old Gu has spoken, we juniors can only obey." Wang Dongshu waved his hand and shouted, "Back off, all of you." Phew! Someone breathed a sigh of relief. Because countless people breathed a sigh of relief at the same time, the gathering of this soft sigh sounded particularly ear-piercing. Those members of the martial arts club were already in a dilemma. If they advanced, they could not win. If they retreated, they would lose face. Now that the curator had personally spoken, they naturally felt happy both physically and mentally. Everyone looked at each other, feeling a little embarrassed. Gulei and Wang Dongshu were also very embarrassed. They glared at those kids with disappointment and shouted, "What a disgrace." Many people were lying on the ground. The onlookers had long hidden far away, saying that Fong Yin was not human. Fong Yin, who was standing in the middle of the crowd, was extraordinarily handsome, like a top-notch swordsman who had never been seen in the world. He had won. The victory was easy and pleasing to the eye. Although Fong Yin had never seriously fought with anyone, the only thing he had done was to shuttle around the crowd with a charming little woman in his arms. However, every time he punched, someone would be sent flying, and every time he kicked, someone would fall to the ground. Like a butterfly playing with a flower, he was free and unfettered. In other words, among so many people present, no one was worthy of him seriously fighting. He did not even use the heart of Tai Chi, although it was difficult for him to speak. Some words had to be said. Wang Dongshu cleared his throat and looked at Fong Yin with unfocused eyes. He said, "It's our bad luck that our skills are not as good as others. You should go." Fong Yin smiled and pointed at Chindachui, who was still unconscious after being dragged not far away by them. He said, "If you were really unlucky, you would have been like him." Wang Dongshu felt suffocated. He could not argue with him, and he could not beat him in a fight. If he were to meet such an opponent again, he would hide further away. Fong Yin did not want to talk anymore. Under the gaze of countless people, he pressed the elevator button. When the elevator door opened, he carried Shang-Xin and walked into the elevator. Clang! When the elevator door closed again, everyone in the underground boxing arena heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. This was a feeling that made people blush. It was a kind of pressure that was condescending, so everyone wanted to deliberately ignore it. Therefore, those who were boxing continued to box, and those who were drinking continued to drink. Those who were flirting continued to flirt, and those who were cursing continued to curse. Wang Dongshu supported Gray and wanted to say something, but he could not say anything. Gray sighed and said, "Boxing is scary, young man. Let's admit defeat this time. Let the children get up and send Dachui to the hospital. I will make the arrangements, Wang Dongshu said. In the elevator, Fang Yin felt that Shangxin's breathing was getting heavier. He asked, "Are you all right? I want to go to the washroom." Jiang Shangxin's voice was like the buzzing of a mosquito as she whispered into Fang Yan's ear. She had drunk a few mugs of beer in a row, and it had long become a burden on her body. She did not feel anything when she was fighting with others just now, but now that the fight was over, she felt that it was unbearable. Fang Yin nodded and said, "I will send you there." The elevator stopped at the side hall of the bar. When the two men in black saw Fang Yin and Jiang Shangxin coming out, they smiled and bowed to them again. Fang Yin nodded at them, and after asking for the location of the washroom, he carried Shangxin and walked over. Fang Yin placed Shangxin at the entrance of the ladies' washroom and asked, "Are you all right?" "No problem," Jiang Shangxin replied. She waved her hands and walked toward the washroom unsteadily. Fang Yin wanted to turn around and leave, leaving this woman to fend for herself. However, he was a little worried. He had injured so many people in the underground boxing arena just now, and only God knew if there would be some extreme fellows who would come after him and do something as revenge. If they really did anything to Jiang Shangxin, he wouldn't feel good about it either. "I will go back after sending her away," Fang Yin thought to himself. The washroom of the bar was very luxuriously decorated. When Fang Yin was combing his hair in front of the bronze mirror outside the washroom, a woman's scream suddenly sounded from the ladies' washroom. "Ah!" Fang Yin was shocked and rushed out of the washroom hurriedly. Chapter 549. There was a huge difference between the men's and ladies' toilets. Of course, there would be some differences. What worried Fang Yin the most was that he couldn't find any trace of Jiang Shangxin. Could someone be lying in ambush to harm Jiang Shangxin? Wasn't this enemy too good at scheming? Fang Yin couldn't be bothered anymore. He pushed open the cubicles of the toilet and tried to find her. Jiang Shangxin. Jiang Shangxin. When Fang Yin pushed open a cubicle, a fair and tender arm suddenly reached out and pulled him out. When Fang Yin was about to counterattack, he smelled a familiar perfume. He had hugged Jiang Shangxin for almost half the night and was very familiar with her scent. Jiang Shangxin. Just as Fang Yin was about to ask what was going on, Jiang Shangxin's body had already fallen toward Fang Yin. Fang Yin reached out to support her, but Jiang Shangxin had already reached out to hug Fang Yin's neck. The alluring smell of wheat became stronger and stronger. Shangxin's red lips blocked Fang Yan's lips. She kissed him passionately and explored Fang Yan's body. She panted and mumbled, "Fang Yan wants me. Fang Yan wants me. Wants you? Wants you for what?" Fang Yan couldn't react in time. What was this woman trying to do? Why did she want to sacrifice herself to seduce him? Is there a camera installed in the toilet? Would they try to ruin his reputation to defeat him? These people's hearts were truly too vicious. Bam! Fang Yin exerted his strength and pushed Shangxin's body over. "Jiang Shangxin, what exactly are you trying to do?" Fang Yin shouted angrily. "What kind of person do you think I am? I think you are a man." Jiang Shangxin panted as she spoke. Under the illumination of the lights outside, her eyes sparkled and shone with a bewitching glow. "I don't want anything. I want you to do something. What do you want me to do?" Fang Yin was very vigilant. Every question he asked was very careful. "What do you think?" Jiang Shangxin pounced toward Fang Yin once again. She hugged Fang Yan's body, and her hot kiss once again drowned Fang Yan's rationality. Fang Yin finally calmed himself down. After hesitating for a while, he finally decided to reject Shangxin. Only then did he reach out to push Shangxin away, so soft. He pushed in the wrong position. Fang Yin hurriedly retracted his lecherous hands. Grabbing onto Jiang Shangxin's arms, he shouted, "That's enough, Jiang Shangxin. Stop now. Stop talking too. Let's have a good talk. You don't like me? It's not that I don't like it, but it's not that I like it. You know, we've only known each other for a short time, and we've only met a few times. I don't know you very well, and you don't know me very well either. I know you won't like me, at least not now," Jiang Shangxin said, "but I think you should at least like me. Don't all men like coquettish women? Don't you think I'm coquettish enough? I think you're already very coquettish. I just feel that I'm not a casual person. Let go of me first. Don't be rash. Jiang Shangxin's eyes started to turn misty. She stared at Fang Yin and asked, "You think I'm dirty?" "I don't mean that. Why would I think you're dirty? You're clean, and the perfume you use smells good. I just feel that we don't have to do this." Fang Yin persuaded her seriously. "Fang Yin, do you believe me? I've fallen in love with you," Jiang Shangxin said. The lyrics of a song came to Fang Yin's mind. Love comes too fast, like a tornado can't leave the circle of the storm in time. I can't think anymore. I can't think anymore. I can't. Jaicho was right. Fang Yin really couldn't. "I know you won't believe it, and I find it hard to believe too. Do you remember the first time we met?" "I remember." Fang Yin nodded. "When I went to the hospital, the security guard didn't let me in. You helped me inform the security guard. At that time, I thought that this woman was quite kind. I knew you before I came watching." Jiang Shangxin said, "I wanted to see what kind of person could steal the woman that Jiang Zhulu liked. At that time, Jiang Zhulu was still very important in my heart. Because you know me, that's why you helped me out? Even if I didn't know you, I would still help you," Jiang Shangxin said, "because it was just a matter of a sentence. Our family education taught us to know when and what to do to establish a good image of ourselves. Of course, I didn't have any good feelings for you at that time. When I saw you and Jiang Zhulu walking together, I didn't like you very much either. I feel that you and Jiang Zhulu are the same kind of person, and Jiang Zhulu happens to be the kind of person that I hate very much." Fang Yin, how dark must a person's heart be to be able to lay a murderous hand on his wife's father? "I can't answer this question," Fang Yin said, "because I've never thought of such a thing. I know that you've been guarding against me. From the moment I appeared in front of you, you've been worried that I would set a trap." Fang Yin smiled and said, "I've been bullied so often that I'm really scared. But to me, tonight is the happiest day I've had in all these years. I've never trusted someone so much, and I've never relied on someone so much. It feels so good to be able to say whatever I want. It feels so good to be able to scold whoever I want and not have to worry about being found out. Do you think that I threw the wine bottle at the stage because I was drunk? I know your skills, and I know that the gorilla can't possibly defeat you. I just wanted to enjoy the feeling of being protected. I know that you will definitely protect me. I also thought of pretending that I don't know you. Fang Yin, you won't," Jiang Shangxin said. "You're too smart, so you won't do such a stupid thing. You know that I'm here to look for you to represent a chance. So you won't let me be bullied. You won't let me be hurt. I'm not a particularly complicated man." Fang Yin's explanation was rather weak. "I just can't bear to see a man bully a woman. Even so, I'm still very happy. I'm happy to see you stand up for me, happy to see you want to take me away, and even happy to see you fight for me. Do you think I'm very perverted? I know men like kind-hearted women, but I don't care whether the gorilla's arm is injured or not. I don't even care if he's dead or alive. How can a woman like me care about an insignificant guy's life or death? When you refused the old man's request for a duel, I felt that I was about to fall in love with you. When you said that if I wanted to leave, who could make me stay, I felt that I had already fallen in love with you. Women have the genes to attach themselves to the strong. A soft woman hopes to find a man with a strong character, and a strong woman hopes to find a more domineering man to conquer her. I've never seen such a man's charm. Even when you held me in your arms and fought with the crowd, I didn't feel the slightest bit nervous. I just hoped that it wouldn't stop, and that it wouldn't end so quickly. Unfortunately, the opponent was too weak, and the battle ended too quickly. Fang Yin, what I've experienced tonight is something that I've never experienced before. I have everything. I have a luxury car, I have a mansion, I have an endless amount of money, and I have a family background that people admire and look up to. But I just want to be like other women and enjoy my man selflessly sacrificing himself for me, fighting with others to protect me. Fang Yin, only you can fulfill my wish. Tell me, what reason do I have not to fall in love with you? I know that I'm very outstanding. Fang Yin tried hard to choose his words and said, but this kind of thing is not up to me to control. I didn't come here to seduce you with ulterior motives. I was born with a face that could easily make people fall in love with me. Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yin seriously. She really wanted to know how this man could say such a thing with a serious face. I can understand your feelings, and I sympathize with your situation. Fang Yin also looked into Jiang Shangxin's eyes and said, but our relationship doesn't need to be maintained by this kind of thing. Fang Yin, I won't let you take responsibility. If I do it, I want to take responsibility, Fang Yin said. If you insist on taking responsibility, but I don't want to take responsibility for you, so it's better not to do it. Otherwise, you'll be in a dilemma. Fang Yin took out a tissue from his pocket and carefully wiped the tears from the corners of Jiang Shangxin's eyes. He said, my father has been gone for 3 years, but this matter still seems like it happened yesterday. I can understand how you feel at this moment. I really do understand. If you need my help, you can call my number. I believe that it won't be difficult for you to get my number. From tonight onward, we will be friends. Life is not easy, but we still have to grit our teeth and persevere. Because no one knows if there will be a turning point waiting for us. Fang Yin patted Jiang Shangxin's shoulder like an old friend, opened the door of the cubicle, and turned to leave. Jiang Shangxin's back leaned against the wall of the toilet weakly, and her body fell limply to the ground. She squatted on the ground and covered her face with her hands. Big drops of tears flowed out from the gaps between her slender fingers. I've already taken so much initiative, but that man remained unmoved. So embarrassing. Chapter 550. Screech. The black Mercedes-Benz stopped at the entrance of the courtyard house. Lian opened the door and got off. She carried her handbag and quickly walked inside. There were 2 old men playing chess in the courtyard. They didn't even look at her when she came in. Lian knew that they were bodyguards brought by Jiang Junling from Beijing. They had high status and extraordinary strength. It was said that they could tell if a person was in danger from the sound of their footsteps. Lian walked to the door of the main room and pushed it open. Jiang Junling was sitting on the sofa in the living room and drinking tea. He was reading a novel with great interest. Lian walked to the general's side and sat down. She filled his teacup with tea and asked with a smile, what are you reading, General? Zheng Wufan's Ice Mirror. Jiang Junling said with a smile, some people say that Zheng Wufan, a famous minister of the Qing dynasty, had 13 sets of knowledge. Only 1 set has been passed down. In fact, there are 2 sets. The other is Zheng Wufan's fortune-telling knowledge, Ice Mirror. I don't like family letters, and I don't read anyone's. But I like Ice Mirror. Jiang Junling closed the book in his hand and said, Zheng Wufan also has a set of fortune-telling mnemonics. Evil depends on the eyes and nose. True or false depends on the lips. Fame depends on one's spirit. Wealth depends on one's spirit. Ideas depend on the fingers and claws. Disturbances depend on the feet. If you want to see the order, it's all in the language. Annie, how about I help you read your fortune? Lian's mind raced. She wondered why Jiang Junling called her so late at night. In the past, he would personally visit her place if there was anything to discuss with her to show his respect for her. But today, he was different. This change was quite obvious. Also, why did he want to read her fortune? Lian smiled and said, it's a military order. Don't laugh at me. I'm old and my fate is set. I'm just guarding the shop and tidying up the house for you old generals. What's there to look at? Those are your men's business. Jiang Junling smiled and said, that's not necessarily true. Some people are noble because of their mother, and some are noble because of their son. Maybe Sister Li is noble because she has a good daughter. Who can say for sure what happens in life? Li Yun was shocked and asked anxiously, military orders, did Shangxin get into trouble? Jiang Junling picked up the teacup and took a sip. After he carefully savored the fragrance of the premium white tea, he smiled and said, Shangxin has been obedient since she was young. How could she have caused any trouble? Annie, don't worry. Jiang Junling told Li Yun not to worry, but Li Yun became even more worried. She cautiously looked at Jiang Junling and asked, military orders. Although your 4th uncle is no longer here, it doesn't change the fact that we are still a family. What I eat, what I wear, what I use, everything I have is given to me by the Jiang family. If there's anything, don't hide it from me. You must tell me immediately. Shangxin is too young, and she has been through too much during this period of time, especially her father's death. A sharp ray of light flashed past Jiang Junling's eyes, but he returned to his gentle and indifferent smile. Lian acted as if she didn't know what had happened and said worriedly, I'm really afraid that this child will fall sick if she continues like this. I'm thinking of letting her rest abroad for a period of time. General Ling nodded and said, You've had a good rest. She should have a good rest. Let's go to France and stay there for 2 years. Of course, we can't just do nothing. Our Jiang family isn't a good-for-nothing who only knows how to eat and work. Let her study in France. She can also help me with some things when she comes back. Lian nodded and said, Thank you for the military orders. Only you, as her brother, would treat her well sincerely. I will make the arrangements and send her to France as soon as possible. Jiang Junling nodded and took a paper bag from the coffee table in front of him. He handed it over and said, There are a few photos inside. Feel free to flip through them when you have nothing to do. Lian took the paper bag and was about to open it when Jiang Junling glanced over and said, Auntie, it's getting late. You should go back and rest. Lian closed the paper bag and said, All right, I'll go back first. The military orders to rest early as well. Young people shouldn't stay up too late. When Lian walked into the courtyard, the 2 old men were still playing chess. She could only see their hands moving, but not the sound of a chess piece landing. The autumn night was slightly chilly, so it probably wouldn't affect them at all. Lian entered the car and opened the bag with the help of the lights in the car. There were a few photos in the bag. There were photos of Shangxin lying in the arms of a man. When she flipped to the last photo and saw the man's face clearly, her face instantly turned as white as a sheet. She took a few deep breaths and suppressed the anger in her heart. She took out her cell phone from the bag and dialed a number. Then, she said in an extremely calm voice, Shangxin, make a trip home. I have something to discuss with you. Li Yin started the car engine. The car rumbled as it sped into the boundless night. Jiang Zhulu walked out of the room and looked at Jiang Junling. Master, are we going to let this matter go? Jiang Junling looked at Jiang Zhulu and asked with a smile, Can we let this matter go? Jiang Zhulu muttered to himself for a long time and said, To be honest, I don't feel very good about it. I think any man who had experienced something like this would probably feel the same way as me. I can understand. Jiang Junling nodded and said. He stood up and patted Jiang Zhulio's shoulder. I'm completely on your side on this matter. Thank you, Master. Jiang Zhulu smiled and said. But, Zhulu, even though Shangxin is the daughter of the Jiang family, she is now the daughter-in-law of the Jiang family. There are some things that require both of you to communicate properly. As her brother, I can't say too much, right? Jiang Zhulu nodded and said, I understand. Sorry to trouble you this time. Jiang Junling walked toward the backyard and said, Go back and rest early. I'm tired too. Goodbye, Master. Jiang Zhulu smiled as he sent him off. When Jiang Shangxin returned home, his mother, Li Yun, was sitting in the living room looking at a report. Jiang Shangxin walked to Li Yun and sat down. He asked, Did Jiang Junling ask you to speak to me on his behalf? I thought he would talk to me personally. Li Yun tidied up the report in her hands and placed it on the table. She looked at Jiang Shangxin and asked, Since you had already predicted this outcome, why did you still do such a thing? What did I do? Jiang Shangxin asked in return. Li Yun frowned slightly and said, Shangxin, you are a married woman and Jiang Zhulio's woman. Your marriage was approved by the old master of the Jiang family. Now that you are in the arms of another man, where do you want the Jiang family's reputation to be? Jiang Shangxin looked at Li Yun with reddened eyes and said, Mom, you keep asking me about the reputation of the Jiang family. What would the old master think if he knew about it? What would he do if Jiang Junling became prejudiced against us? But have you ever thought about my feelings? They're the people who kill my father, and I still have to call them brother and hubby. I did it, but I'm really tired. I am so tired, I just want to talk to someone. That's all. If not, I will go crazy. Li Yun's eyes turned red as she watched her daughter cry. She went forward and hugged her daughter. She said gently, Shangxin, I know you feel wronged, but it's fine if you say it in front of me. I have already asked Secretary Li to help you get a visa to study in France. You can leave tomorrow. Mom, this is what they want. Li Yin said firmly. This is also what I want. When Fong Yin returned home, Lu Chaoge was reading a book on the sofa in the living room. The sounds of Qin Ying and Fong Ying fighting and shouting could be heard from the backyard. Ever since Fong Ying and Fong Haoen came, Qin Ying's second spring in martial arts training had been awakened. When Qin Ying fought with Fong Yin, there was almost no chance of him winning. It was a kind of suppression that made one feel hopeless. However, when he fought with Fong Ying, he was still full of fighting spirit, even though he lost more than he won. As long as he had the time, he would drag Fong Ying into a few rounds. Lu Chaoge put down the fashion magazine in her hands. She looked at Fong Yin, who was walking over, and asked, "Have you eaten?" Fong Yin thought for a while and said, "I think I haven't eaten yet." Lu Chaoge quickly stood up and said, "I'll make a bowl of noodles for you." "No need." Fong Yin pressed Lu Chaoge's shoulders and didn't let her get up. He said, "You've already taken a bath, haven't you?" Lu Chaoge's cheeks suddenly turned pink. She said, "Why do you ask this?" She thought of the embarrassing scene when she was lying on the ground and couldn't move, and Fong Yin suddenly rushed in from the balcony. Seeing Lu Chaoge's embarrassed expression, Fong Yin realized that his question might cause others to misunderstand. He quickly explained, "I didn't mean that. I just wanted to say that you've already taken a bath, so don't make yourself smell like oil. I'll go make a bowl of noodles myself. You sit down." Lu Chaoge nodded and looked straight at the red mark on Fong Yin's neck. She asked, "What's wrong with your neck?" "Neck?" Fong Yin reached out and touched it. He didn't find anything strange. He took out his cell phone from his pocket and turned on the selfie function. He immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. When he was pulled into the toilet by Jiang Shangxin seemed to have kissed his neck. As a result, a red lipstick mark was left on his Adam's apple. Fong Yin tried hard to stay calm and said, "Maybe I was bitten by a mosquito. It's okay. I'll just go upstairs and apply some toilet water." Lu Chaoge sighed softly. She took out a wet wipe from the tissue box on the table and walked to Fong Yin. She carefully wiped the lipstick mark on Fong Yin's neck with the wet wipe and said, "If you have a social engagement outside, remember to check your appearance when you come back. Otherwise, your wife will misunderstand." Chapter 551. A bowl of cold noodles and a few side dishes. This was the dinner that Fong Yin had prepared for himself. On his way home from work, Jiang Shangxin intercepted him and dragged him to the bar. He quarreled with others and fought with them. In the end, he was almost molested by her. Everything that he had done was simply too exhausting for him. However, on the way home, Fong Yin did not feel hungry at all. He was still digesting the scene that had just happened at the bar. Jiang Shangxin's figure was really good. Her breasts were really soft. Her body was really fragrant. Her mouth was really sweet. And her tongue was really nimble. Of course, his was not bad either. Furthermore, women who acted coquettishly were the most troublesome. Jiang Shangxin's delicate and alluring appearance was indeed tempting and captivating. However, that was a woman from the Jiang family, Jiang Julio's wife. One could not take advantage of a friend's wife, but one could ride on an enemy's wife? I can't, Fong Yin screamed at his heart. He poured sesame seeds, poured chili sauce, and mixed chopped green onions and coriander. Fong Yin slurped down half a bowl of noodles in one go. He drank a mouthful of water and digested it for a few minutes. He lowered his head and quickly finished the remaining half of the bowl of noodles. Fong Yin took out a tissue to wipe his mouth. As he drank the water, he told Lu Chaoge about what had happened when Jiang Shangxin intercepted him. To Fong Yin, Lu Chaoge was a woman that he trusted wholeheartedly. There were some things that he could not even tell Yuan Ro, but he could tell them to Lu Chaoge. Of course, he emphasized on Jiang Shangxin's conflicted and painful inner world and tragic experience. As for the part where Jiang Shangxin seduced and forced him, he simply mentioned that there was a kiss mark on my neck because Jiang Shangxin had kissed me forcefully. However, he was a person with strong self-control and would not allow himself to be taken away so easily. It had to be said that teacher Fong Yin was a man full of integrity. After listening to Fong Yan's story, Lu Chaoga had a sad expression on her face. She said softly, "It wasn't easy for her to be born in such a family. There are some things that men take for granted, but it's too difficult for women. It's not easy. The rich and powerful are as deep as the sea. Some small fish and shrimps are just food for the big sharks. They don't have any chance or ability to resist fate. What do you want to do?" Lu Chaoga turned around and asked Fong Yin. Fong Yin smiled and said, "It should be what she wants to do. You know, this matter is not up to me. I hope she can be braver," Lu Chaoga said. Fong Yin nodded and said, "Just like you back then, I don't want her to be like me." Lu Chaoga shook her head and said, "I've sacrificed too much." Fong Yin sighed and patted Lu Chaoga's shoulder lightly. He said, "With me around, things will get better in the future." Clang. Fong Ying pushed open the back door and walked in. When he saw Lu Chaoga in Fong Yan's arms, he quickly covered his eyes and shouted, "I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything." Lu Chaoga got up from Fong Yan's arms and tidied her hair and clothes. Fong Yin stared at Fong Ying coldly and said, "Get in here." Thus, Fong Ying lay on the ground and rolled toward the living room. He was like a meatball. Fong Ying rolled until he was in front of Fong Yin before he got up. He looked at Fong Yin with a flattering expression and said, "Junior Martial Uncle, I want to discuss something with you. I knew you had something to ask of me. Junior Martial Uncle, it's not a request, it's a discussion. Say it." "What is it?" Fong Yin asked. "Can you give me a day off tomorrow?" Fong Yin looked at Lu Chaoga and asked, "What do you want to do?" "I called and asked. Sunli has a day off tomorrow. I want to take a day off to treat her to a meal." Fong Ying lowered his head and said shyly, "Go ahead," Lu Chaoga said. "I'm resting at home tomorrow. I won't be going to the company." "Thank you, Sister Lu," Fong Ying shouted excitedly. "Sister Lu, there's something else I want to discuss with you." "What is it?" "Can I borrow your BMW tomorrow?" "I'm using that car," Fong Yin said angrily. "This bastard, he dares to steal my car?" Lu Chaoga thought about it and said, "That BMW is used by your martial uncle." "Then forget it," Fong Ying said regretfully. "But you can use my GMC RV or Ferrari. There's a red Ferrari in the garage. I think the color is too dazzling, so I haven't driven it much. If you like, you could drive it out." "Thank you, Sister Lu. You're really my sister." Fong Ying was so excited that he wanted to hug Lu Chaoga, but after noticing Fong Yan's murderous look, he quickly turned around and hugged Fong Yin tightly in his arms. "Junior Martial Uncle, you're really my junior martial uncle. Let go." "Oh." Fong Ying let go of Fong Yan's shoulders and said, "Junior Martial Uncle, there's a fragrance on you. It's a woman's fragrance. Strange, it's not Sister Lu's scent. Sister Lu doesn't use perfume. I feel a little bloated, hero. Come out with me to digest your food." Fong Ying turned around and ran away. The flight to France was at 8 in the morning, which made Jiang Shangxin's heart turn cold. How much did they hate her that they were so anxious to send her overseas? Jiang Shangxin didn't sleep the entire night and dragged her luggage out of the house at 5 in the morning. Since it was inevitable to leave, what was there to miss? It was better to leave. This city made her feel suffocated. The sky was still dark, and there was a faint silhouette of the moon in the sky. The chauffeur was waiting in the courtyard, and when he saw Jiang Shangxin come out, he quickly ran over to help drag the luggage and said with a smile, "Miss, the chairman asked me to send you to the airport." Jiang Shangxin originally wanted to reject him. Since things had already been done to such an extent, what was the point of such a small favor? However, she couldn't even be bothered to reject him. She allowed the chauffeur to place the luggage in the trunk, then opened the car door and invited her into the car. After Shangxin entered the car, she closed her eyes, and only then did she feel tired. After talking to her mother, she started to pack her luggage in the room. Actually, there weren't many pieces of luggage. To them, everything could be used as replacements, so why would they need to carry it all the way to Paris? A few sets of clothes and a little bear. She searched carefully and realized that the little bear was actually one of the few items that her father, Feng Xing, had left for her. Her father had given it to her on her 8th birthday. He said that he had bought it as a present because he saw that the little bear resembled her. At that time, she was very unhappy and felt that she didn't resemble the little bear at all. She was so beautiful, but why was she just a little bear in her father's eyes? Now that she saw it, she realized that her father was right. She was a bear, an unlucky bear. "Miss, do you want to listen to music?" The chauffeur asked gently. Jiang Shangxin didn't reply. She didn't want to talk. Even though she knew that it was rude to be angry with the chauffeur and that it went against her upbringing, she just didn't want to talk. The chauffeur didn't speak anymore and started the car slowly when he didn't get a reply from Jiang Shangxin. When the car drove out of the courtyard, the curtains of a bedroom on the second floor were pulled open and a black figure appeared in the middle of the window. "Shangxin, don't blame me." Li Yun sighed softly. "I know that this kind of life is too hard for you, but what you are doing is too dangerous. Go out, go far away, and never come back." Huaqing was still very empty and quiet in the morning. The journey from the villa area in the Dongjiang district to the airport was especially smooth, and they didn't encounter many cars. There wasn't even a single pedestrian. Once they drove out of the coastal road, they would reach the airport directly after getting on the highway. The car had just entered the highway when Jiang Shangxin, who had been resting with her eyes closed, suddenly opened her eyes. "Go back," Jiang Shangxin said. "Miss." The chauffeur was in a difficult position. "If we go back now, we will miss the flight. I said go back," Jiang Shangxin said with a firm attitude. Her tone was also getting worse. "Miss, the chairman asked me to send you to the airport." Jiang Shangxin sneered and said, "She sent you to monitor me on my way to the airport, right?" "Miss, you are putting me in a difficult position. You are the one who is putting me in a difficult position." Jiang Shangxin suddenly raised her voice. "I said go back. Go back immediately. If not, I will open the car door and jump out." The chauffeur quickly locked all the car doors to prevent Shangxin from going crazy and jumping out of the car. "Do you think I can't get out like this? Do you think I can't come back because of this? So what if you send me to the airport? So what if you send me to Paris?" Jiang Shangxin said with a face full of disdain. "Go back. Turn the car back." The chauffeur drove the car forward and, at the same time, he took out his cell phone and dialed a number. "Chairman, Miss wants to go back." "Pass the phone to her." Li Yun's voice came from the phone. The chauffeur passed the cell phone over and said, "Miss, the chairman wants you to answer the phone." Jiang Shangxin took the cell phone from him and smashed it against the car window. Crack! The cell phone was smashed into pieces, but there was only a light scratch on the car window. This was Li Yun's car, and it was a custom-made bulletproof car from Ford. Not to mention this degree of damage, even bullets and ordinary bombs would not be able to open it. Jiang Shangxin stared at the chauffeur with reddened eyes and shouted with all her strength, "Go back!" Screech! The chauffeur slammed on the brakes, and the car stopped at the side of the highway. The chauffeur unfastened the seatbelt and turned to look at Jiang Shangxin with a smile. He said, "Miss, you can either go to Paris or go to hell. What's your choice?" The chauffeur held a gun in his hand and aimed it at Jiang Shangxin's head. Chapter 552. What did it mean to be utterly disheartened? It was how Jiang Shangxin was feeling at this moment. She widened her eyes and stared at the chauffeur in disbelief. She looked at the gun that the chauffeur was pointing at her head. She could not believe that her mother's chauffeur would point a gun at her just because she did not want to go to Paris. Or rather, if she insisted on not going, he would really use this gun to send her to hell. Go to heaven or hell. Is this what a mother is supposed to say to her children? Her mother, the woman who kept saying that she loved her, was this how she treated her? Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. What else could she do to make people feel hopeless? It was getting harder and harder to breathe. She clenched her fists so tightly that her fingernails dug into her flesh and started to bleed. Jiang Shangxin tried her best not to cry. She was a high and mighty missy. How could she cry in front of chauffeur? However, it was still difficult for her to stop her eyes from turning red and gradually becoming moist. She clenched her teeth and gave herself some courage, but her voice was still trembling. She stared at the chauffeur and said, "Was this also her order?" "Miss, I have said that you are putting me in a difficult position. A woman like you is like a reincarnated fairy from heaven. You have taken all the good things. What else is there to be dissatisfied about? There are some things that you have to turn a blind eye to. Isn't it great if you brush me off and I brush you off? Why do you have to find trouble for yourself and others? Jiang Shangxin ignored the chauffeur's advice and stared at him. If I do not go to Paris, would you really shoot me? That's right. The chauffeur nodded. I have said that I will either go to Paris or hell. What does she take me for? What does she take me for? Jiang Shangxin muttered to herself. The truth was right in front of her, but she was still unwilling to believe it. She could not believe that the only person she could rely on in this world, her closest family, would treat her in this way. Miss, why do you have to put the chairman in a difficult position? The chauffeur sighed. I am afraid that she cannot make the decision for some things. You mean that my mother did not ask you to do this to me? Jiang Shangxin shouted agitatedly. Her heart was suddenly filled with joy and happiness. This was really a ridiculous thing. It was the same thing, and she was also being pointed at her head. However, as long as the mastermind was not her own mother, she had 10,000 reasons to be happy. Because if that was the case, she would have completely lost all hope in this world. The driver sighed and said, Miss, your question is really unnecessary. You are a member of the Jiang family. The chairman is also a member of the Jiang family. How can I not be a member of the Jiang family? We are all members of the Jiang family. The Jiang family. Jiang Shangxin instantly understood. The driver was someone from the Jiang family. He was a chess piece that Jiang Junling or someone else from the Jiang family had placed by Li Yun's side. However, his mother had been cautious all her life. How could she have made such a huge mistake? Her most trusted driver was Jiang Jiejia, an undercover agent sent by Jiang Jiejia. Aren't you afraid? Jiang Shangxin looked at the chauffeur and asked. Scared? What are you afraid of? Aren't you afraid that my mom will fire you for exposing your identity in front of me? Are you going to fire him? The driver grinned. There was a hint of disdain and sympathy in his smile. Miss, do you think that the chairman doesn't know my identity? Do you think that she has never suspected me before? However, with the chairman's intelligence, even if she knows my real identity, she will pretend that nothing has happened. Not only that, she will also get closer to me and trust me. This is her style of doing things. Miss, do you think that's the case? Jiang Shangxin was speechless. She knew that the chauffeur was right. Even if her mother knew that the chauffeur was an undercover agent, she would still keep this secret to herself. Otherwise, what else could she do? If she made a big fuss, the Jiang family would only think that she was an idiot. If she fired the chauffeur, the family would be even more wary of her and plant more spies around her. Everything and everyone was under the control of the Jiang family. The Jiang family was like a huge net that covered the top of one's head. While it provided protection, one could not break free from their shackles. Miss, have you made your choice? The chauffeur looked at Jiang Shangxin and asked. To the airport. Jiang Shangxin replied. The chauffeur grinned again and said, Thank you, miss, for understanding the difficulties of servants like us. The chauffeur kept the gun in his hand and was about to start the engine to send Jiang Shangxin to the airport when the phone in his pocket rang. When he picked up the call, his expression turned serious, and he said, Understood. I will wait for you by the roadside. Who is coming over? Jiang Shangxin asked anxiously. The chauffeur smiled and said, Miss, you will know very soon. Jiang Shangxin knew that the chauffeur was an undercover agent and that he would not care about her identity. She did not have the mood to continue asking. She looked like she was asking to be humiliated. After waiting quietly for a few minutes, a black Mercedes-Benz approached slowly. The Mercedes-Benz stopped by the roadside. The back door opened, and a familiar face appeared in front of Jiang Shangxin. Bam! The car door opened, and the cool morning breeze swept in. Jiang Shangxin could not help but wrap the sweater around her body. She could feel the chill of autumn. Jiang Zhulu sat beside Jiang Shangxin. When he saw that Jiang Shangxin was holding onto the collar of the sweater, he smiled and said, The weather is getting cold. You must take care of yourself. You must take good care of yourself when you are out alone. Jiang Shangxin stared at Jiang Zhulu warily and asked, What are you doing here? Jiang Zhulu laughed and said, Shangxin, do you know that your question is very cute? I don't know. Jiang Zhulu reached out to grab Jiang Shangxin's petite hand and forcefully pulled it away. Jiang Zhulu grabbed it again. When Jiang Shangxin wanted to pull it away again, Jiang Zhulu exerted force, and Shangxin's palm seemed to be clamped down by an iron clamp. "It hurts. Jiang Zhulu, let go of me," Jiang Shangxin shouted. Jiang Zhulu lifted the back of Shangxin's hand to the corner of his lips and kissed it. Chuckling, he said, "Shangxin, you are my wife, my legitimate wife. If you can hug and hug other men, what's wrong with us holding hands as a married couple?" Since Jiang Zhulu had taken the initiative to speak, Jiang Shangxin no longer had any reservations. She stared at Jiang Zhulu fiercely and said, "Are you here to vent your anger? Do you feel that you have been betrayed?" "What anger? I just feel that, as a husband, I should send my wife off since she's going overseas. Otherwise, wouldn't it seem like I am too heartless? Should I say thank you?" "Silly girl, why would a family say thank you?" Jiang Zhulu reached out a finger and touched the tip of Jiang Shangxin's nose. He said, "However, you didn't even inform your husband that you're going overseas. If someone didn't tell me, I wouldn't even know about this. Aren't you being too disrespectful to your husband? Isn't this what you guys want?" Jiang Shangxin said with a face full of sarcasm. "We? Who are we?" Jiang Zhulu smiled and asked. Jiang Shangxin knew that she had misspoken. If it was in the past, she would have explained that she had said it unintentionally. However, she felt that there was no need to do so now. "You know better than me who we are. It seems like you are filled with indignation." Jiang Zhulu smiled and said, "What about you?" Jiang Shangxin stared at Jiang Zhulu with a piercing gaze and said, "You gave away half of the Jiang family's assets, and you crawled at the feet of the general's order like a dog. Jiang Zhulu, where's your pride? Where is your dignity as a man? It doesn't feel good to be a dog, does it?" Jiang Zhulu glanced at the chauffeur and said, "Please wait outside. I have some private things to say to my wife." The chauffeur didn't reject him. He pushed the car door open and walked out. "It does feel bad." Jiang Zhulu looked at Jiang Shangxin and said. His handsome features were slightly distorted. His eyes were sunken and bloodshot. During the time when his father was away, his life had indeed not been smooth. Although he had tried his best to prop up the Jiang family was no longer the Jiang family from before. As for the four big families in Huaqing, no one would take the Jiang family into account anymore, right? If I could be a human, who would be willing to be a dog? Jiang Zhulio's lips curled up, but it wasn't the arrogant and sunny smile he used to have. It was mockery and self-denial. "But what should I do if I don't want to be a dog? My father has walked a dead end and left me with such a mess. What should I do if I don't cling to the Jiang family? Will Feng Yin let me off? Will Lu Chaoga let me off? Will Lanshan Valley let me off? And Lu Shu, he is also a dog. He is a mad dog kept by Feng Yin. Will he let me off? Jiang Shangxin, who am I? I am Jiang Zhulu, one of the four young masters in Huaqing. I am the smartest man in Huaqing. Why do I have to bow down to another man? Why do I have to suck up to another man? Why do I have to live like a dog? It is for the Jiang family, for me, and for you." Jiang Zhulu stuffed one of Shangxin's fingers into his mouth and sucked it gently with his tongue. He said, "Shangxin, why can't you understand? Why can't you understand my painstaking efforts?" Jiang Zhulu exerted force with his teeth, causing Shangxin to let out a shrill scream. Fresh blood flowed out of Jiang Zhulio's mouth, staining his chin and the white shirt he was wearing. Chapter 553. Even though the walls of the car were soundproof, Lu Jiang could still hear Shangxin's screams. Lu Jiang frowned slightly and wondered if Jiang Zhulu was in a hurry to commit murder on the side of the highway because his wife had cheated on him. Of course, even if Jiang Zhulu really did that, Lu Jiang would not jump out with a sense of justice. Jiang Zhulu was highly regarded by Jiang Junling and was also the most handy chess piece for Jiang Junling to fight against Feng Yin and Huaqing. What if Jiang Zhulio's actions were secretly instructed by Jiang Junling? People like them were already blind and deaf. They had sold half of their souls to the god of fortune and the other half to the devil. There was only one word in their dictionary: loyalty, There were few cars on the highway. Occasionally, a car would flash its headlights and pass by them. However, it was just a quick glance, and they did not know what was happening here. Lu Jiang could not see clearly what was happening in the car, and he did not want to know too much. Sometimes, knowing the truth was a burden, and a burden meant trouble. "Son of a bitch," he cursed in a low voice. He took out a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and lit it up. Then, he walked in the opposite direction of the airport. He was probably not needed here anymore, right? Pain. It was a heart-wrenching pain. It was not an exaggeration to say that the fingers were linked to the heart. The pain spread from the finger to the heart, and then to the rest of her body. Jiang Shangxin's body trembled violently. She felt that the bone of her index finger must have been bitten off by Jiang Zhulu. Jiang Shangxin did not dare to struggle, because her finger was still in Jiang Zhulu's mouth. His 2 rows of teeth were like 2 rows of nails that pierced deeply into the flesh and bone of her finger. She also tried to pull her finger out, but it was impossible to do so other than bringing unbearable pain to her. Unless she was willing to pull her finger off and give it to Jiang Zhulu for breakfast. Looking at how he was greedily drinking blood, he must be extremely hungry. "Let go of me! Jiang Zhulu, let go of me!" Jiang Shangxin clenched her teeth and perspired profusely. She had been pampered since she was young and had bodyguards protecting her. Even a cold or fever was a big deal. She had never suffered such pain before. She felt like she was going to die. She really wished that she was already dead. "Let you go? How can I bear to let you off?" Jiang Zhulu bit Jiang Shangxin's finger as a sinister smile appeared on his face. "Shangxin, I love you so much. I love you more than I love Lu Chaoga. How could I let you go just like that? I know you despise me now. I know you hate me to the core. You want to eat my flesh and drink my blood. Who asked me to kill my father-in-law with my own hands? However, Shangxin, I truly love you. I pursued Lu Chaoga because I needed the integrity of the Longta group. I needed her to never be able to open her mouth and say that she wanted to split the Longta group into 2. That was the protection of interests, not for myself, but for the glory of the Jiang family. But Shangxin, I have really fallen in love with you. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Even you can't believe it, right? Jiang Zhulu was such a selfish ghost, such a hypocrite, such a perverted killer. How could he fall in love with a woman? How could he possibly entrust his heart to a woman? Jiang Shangxin stared at Jiang Zhulu in disbelief. At that moment, she even forgot about the wounds and pain on her body. Jiang Zhulu had really fallen in love with her? Jiang Zhulu came to confess to her? When the pain hit her like a tidal wave again, Jiang Shangxin's mental state returned to normal. She stared at Jiang Zhulu with gritted teeth and sneered. "Jiang Zhulu, you are really a piece of trash. You still have the cheek to tell me that you love me at this stage? If you love me, would you kill my father? Which man in this world would treat his wife's father like this? Is this how you show your love?" Jiang Zhulu was finally willing to spit out Jiang Shangxin's finger. Jiang Shangxin's arm was trembling, and the joints of her finger were badly mutilated. The pain was unbearable, and she didn't know if the bones inside were broken. Jiang Shangxin carefully retracted her finger, afraid that Jiang Zhulu would touch it again. Even she didn't dare to touch it. Jiang Zhulu took out a white handkerchief from his pocket and said, "Wrap it up." Jiang Shangxin looked at Jiang Zhulu as if she was looking at a devil. He had just bitten her finger until it bled like a demonic beast. But in the blink of an eye, he turned into a passionate man who took out a handkerchief and asked her to wrap it up. Tell me, if a man like this isn't a pervert, what kind of man can be called a pervert?" When Jiang Zhulu saw that Shangxin was staring at him with her eyes wide open, but did not reach out to take the silk handkerchief from him, Jiang Zhulu reached out and pulled Shangxin's injured hand over to him. With a pitiful voice, he said, "When will you learn to take care of yourself?" Jiang Shangxin leaned toward the car door with all her might and said, "Don't touch me. Don't touch me." However, she wasn't as strong as Jiang Zhulu, and that hand was hers. She didn't have the courage to have an intense tug-of-war with Jiang Zhulu. Jiang Zhulu was very skilled at wrapping up the wound. He used the handkerchief to wrap up Shangxin's injured finger cleanly. He even tied a beautiful bow at the end, which made him look like he was showing off. My skills aren't bad, right? Jiang Zhulu chuckled as he looked at his work seriously. Jiang Shangxin stared at Jiang Zhulu warily and said, Jiang Zhulu, what exactly are you trying to do? What exactly am I trying to do? Jiang Zhulu thought about it seriously and said, Didn't I say just now? I just want to see you and let you understand my feelings for you. Jiang Zhulu held Shangxin's injured hand between his two hands and looked at her affectionately. He said, Shangxin, do you know how upset I felt when I saw the photo of you and Fang Yin hugging each other? At that time, I was about to go crazy. I wanted to destroy the entire world. I wondered why that moment wasn't the end of the world. Shangxin, the difficulties are only temporary. Believe me, as long as the Jiang family gets through this hurdle, I have the confidence to revive the Jiang family. By then, you will be able to live a glamorous life as the young mistress of the Jiang family again. Shangxin, can you give me a little more time? Jiang Zhulu. Jiang Shangxin didn't know how to communicate with Jiang Zhulu anymore. This person was so crazy that she didn't even know which sentence was true and which was fake. However, even if what he said was true, could they go back to how they were before? Even if Jiang Zhulu still loved her, could she fall in love with him again? As she was thinking about this question, another figure became clearer and clearer in her mind. Men were passionate and sentimental, while women were loyal and heartless. When a woman fell in love with someone, it meant that she had truly fallen in love. When a woman stopped loving someone, it meant that she would never love again. It was completely impossible for them to be together. It turned out that she already had an answer in her heart. Shoo! Jiang Zhulu stuck out a finger to block Jiang Shangxin's lips and said with a smile, You don't have to say anything and you don't have to explain anything. Think about it properly after you settle down in France. Think about your future and think about our future. I think that you will be able to have a clear answer about our relationship then. Since Jiang Zhulu didn't allow her to speak, Jiang Shangxin didn't say anything either. She didn't want to say anything in the first place. Jiang Zhulu leaned forward and wanted to plant a kiss on Shangxin's forehead. Jiang Shangxin leaned back stiffly and used her elbow to push against Jiang Zhulu's chest to prevent him from getting closer. Jiang Zhulu grinned and didn't want to force her. He looked at Jiang Shangxin with a gentle smile and said, Go on, take care. Jiang Shangxin still didn't say anything. Jiang Zhulu took a deep look at Jiang Shangxin before he pulled the car door open and got out. Jiang Shangxin heaved a sigh of relief. This devil had finally left. Bam! The car door was pulled open again. Jiang Zhulu looked at Jiang Shangxin's nervous expression and reminded her with a smile, Send me a message when you arrive. This caused Shangxin to widen her eyes and stare fixedly at his every move. Goodbye. Bang! The car door was closed again. When the car door opened again, it was Lu Jiang, who had returned to the driver's seat. Lu Jiang turned around and looked at Jiang Shangxin. His gaze shifted to her injured finger joint, and he asked, Are you all right? I'm fine. Jiang Shangxin replied, like a wandering spirit. After experiencing the scene just now, she felt that half of her soul had escaped. Let's set off then. Lu Jiang smiled and started the car again. Jiang Zhulu stood at the highway junction and watched the luxury car drive away with Jiang Shangxin. The smile on his face became cruel. I really don't like to do things like this. There's no technical content at all. As he spoke, he took out his cell phone from his pocket and dialed a number. He said, The target has boarded the plane and is expected to arrive at 6 o'clock tonight. I'll do it when she arrives in France. I'll do it cleanly and beautifully. Chapter 554. Tang Yong hesitated and finally took the initiative to greet the beautiful lady sitting beside him. Miss, Jiang Shangxin turned a deaf ear to him and stared blankly at the gloomy world outside the window. Did she really leave just like that? Why did she feel so indignant? Paris was a city that was both familiar and unfamiliar to her. When she came back from Paris, the plane landed at the Yanjing International Airport. She stood on the spiral staircase and swore that she would never leave Huaxia again. She could only find the freedom and enjoyment that she wanted in her own country. Huaxia's people were so familiar. Huaxia's food was so delicious. Huaxia's friends were so warm, and Huaxia's relatives were so indifferent. When a person leaves his hometown, no amount of resources can make up for it. But why did she have to leave again? And in such a humiliating way. Jiang Shangxin had a faint worry that she might not be able to come back after going to Paris. She couldn't come back if Jiang Junling didn't want her to come back. She couldn't come back after Jiang Junling took over the Jiang family. Fang Yan, a familiar figure, appeared in Jiang Shangxin's mind again. Why did she think of him at this time? Was it because of the regret in her heart and the anger and humiliation after being rejected? Goodbye, Fang Yan, Jiang Shangxin said to the empty tarmac outside. You idiot, why did you reject me? I know that you don't like me, even if it was just once. Tang Yong swallowed his saliva and started to gather the strength to speak again. Miss, Jiang Shangxin finally came back to her senses. She turned to look at the young man beside her and asked, You called me? Yes. Tang Yong nodded and looked at Jiang Shangxin. Miss, are you all right? I'm fine, Jiang Shangxin replied. But your finger is bleeding. Tang Yong pointed at Jiang Shangxin's palm and said. Jiang Shangxin lowered her head to take a look and said, I'm fine. Although Jiang Zhulu had tied a silk handkerchief around the wound on her finger, he didn't apply any ointment on it. He also didn't use any medical bandages to bandage it, so the wound hadn't healed yet. The silk handkerchief was soaked in blood, and it was currently dripping down to her feet. If it was in the past, she would have screamed for help if such a wound appeared on her body. But now, she was calm as if nothing had happened. Compared to the damage he had suffered in his heart, this little pain was nothing. This won't do, Tang Yong said. He waved his hand and shouted, Stewardess, please get the first aid kit. The stewardess immediately came over and asked, Sir, how can I help you? Tang Yong pointed at Jiang Shangxin and said, Please take the first aid kit. This lady's finger is injured. When the air stewardess saw Jiang Shangxin's finger, she hurriedly said, Miss, are you all right? Do you need us to take you to the doctor? I'm fine. Jiang Shangxin glanced at the air stewardess. Bandage it. All right. Please wait a moment. The air stewardess turned around to get the first aid kit. Jiang Shangxin wanted to untie the blood-red silk handkerchief, but was tied too tightly by Jiang Zhulu, and it was really difficult to untie it with one hand. Tang Yong looked at Jiang Shangxin's actions and said, Let me help you. No need. Jiang Shangxin rejected him. It's okay. We have to help each other when we are out. Who hasn't met with difficulties? As Tang Yong spoke, he lifted the small table in front of him and placed Jiang Shangxin's arm on it. Then, he deftly untied the bow on the silk handkerchief. The air stewardess came over with the first aid kit. Tang Yong stretched out his hand and said, Cotton ball, medicinal wine. Sir, are you a doctor? The air stewardess opened the first aid kit and handed over the things that Tang Yong needed. My father is a doctor, and I learned a few things from him. Tang Yong smiled shyly and looked like an honest man. That's great. The air stewardess smiled and complimented him. Being a doctor is really a good profession. Thank you. Tang Yong nodded and smiled at the air stewardess. After the silk handkerchief was untied and thrown into the trash bag, Tang Yong used the cotton ball to clean up the blood stains on the wound, and the original appearance of the finger was revealed. Looking at the finger that was so badly mutilated that the bone was almost exposed, Tang Yong said in surprise, Oh my God, what exactly happened? Miss, your finger is seriously injured. If it gets inflamed, the consequences will be dire. If the bone necrosis occurs, the finger may need to be amputated. Do you know that? I know, Jiang Shangxin said. Actually, she didn't know. She didn't even know the extent of her injury. She didn't want to open the silk handkerchief to take a look. Subconsciously, she didn't want to touch the handkerchief that was wrapped around the wound. How good would it be if she could sever her relationship with Jiang Zhulu this way? Then why did you... Tang Yong originally wanted to say that since she knew, why didn't she go to the hospital to bandage the wound before coming back? However, when he saw the woman's cold expression and hostile gaze, he swallowed the words that he was about to blurt out. This was a woman with a story. Furthermore, she had a strong sense of self-defense and didn't want anyone to touch her easily. Tang Yong helped Shangxin apply a thick layer of ointment on her finger. Then, he used the gauze to bandage the wound carefully. It could be seen that Jiang Zhilu did have a certain level of medical foundation. His bandaging technique was simple and professional. Furthermore, the tightness was appropriate and wouldn't cause one to feel any pain. Also, the gauze wouldn't fall off with a casual tug. After Tang Yong tied a knot in the gauze, he said, "All right, do you feel any discomfort? If not, I can help you adjust the bandage." "There's no need." Jiang Shangxin retracted her arm. The air stewardess packed up the medical kit in a trash bag. Then, she looked at Tang Yong and said, "Sir, thank you very much." "You're welcome." Tang Yong smiled and replied. After the air stewardess left, Tang Yong looked at Jiang Shangxin, who had cast her gaze out of the window again. He said, "Can't bear to leave this city. I'm not in a good mood. You don't have to talk to me." Jiang Shangxin said coldly, "I know that you mean well, but I feel sorry for brushing off your enthusiasm. Also, I feel very tired." Tang Yong rubbed his nose awkwardly and said, "I'm sorry. I just want to sit together with you. Furthermore, we're going to Paris together. We can talk to each other on the journey, and we can also be friends when we reach Paris." "Thank you," Jiang Shangxin said. Tang Yong knew that Jiang Shangxin wasn't willing to talk, so he took out a newspaper from the back pocket of his seat and started reading it. Lu Jiang stood at the entrance of the airport and took out his cell phone from his pocket to make a call. "Has Shangxin left?" Li Yun's voice sounded from the other end of the line. "She has left," Lu Jiang replied. "Miss is not in a good mood." There was silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, a voice sounded again. "Come back, it's been hard on you." "Jiang Zhulu is here to see Mississippi," Lu Jiang said. Although he was a spy that the Jiang family had arranged to be by Li Yun's side, Li Yun was also clear about his identity. However, he still had to fulfill his role as the chairman's chauffeur before everyone fell out with each other. "Jiang Zhulu?" Li Yun's voice was obviously raised, and her tone was a little sharp. What was he doing there? He said that he wanted to say goodbye to Mississippi. "I wasn't in the car, so I don't know what they talked about." "You mean that he didn't see Shangxin at the airport?" "At the entrance of the expressway to the airport," Lu Jiang replied. There was silence on the other end of the line again. After a long time, a crisp cracking sound could be heard. Li Yun hung up the phone. Obviously, Jiang Zhulio's actions had infuriated Li Yun. Lu Jiang kept his cell phone. Just when he was about to walk toward the parking lot, a man hurriedly walked toward him from behind. Lu Jiang's sense of danger was extremely strong, and his first reaction was to dodge to the side of the road. Swoosh! A cold object flew to the back of his neck. When he reached out to touch it, he felt a sharp pain on his neck, as if it had been pricked by a needle. "This is B. Snake." A hoarse and weird voice sounded beside his ear. He turned around, but did not see anyone. When he turned around again, a dark and skinny man wearing a black tracksuit and a hoodie was standing in front of him. Its mouth is like a needle, so it can't eat meat. It only likes to drink blood. The dark and skinny man stared at Lu Jiang fiercely. Of course, when it drinks blood, it naturally has to stab its long mouth into your flesh. If you don't get the antidote within an hour, you will bleed to death from all your orifices. "Who are you?" Lu Jiang asked fiercely. He reached into his pocket for his gun. "Before you take out your gun, you might as well look at your palm first," the dark and skinny man said. He knew what Lu Jiang wanted to do. Lu Jiang opened the palm of one of his hands, and countless fine red spots appeared on his palm. Those red spots appeared at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. Very quickly, his palm was filled with red spots, and they spread toward his arm. "What is this?" Lu Jiang asked anxiously. "Bee snake spots." The dark and skinny man smiled and said, "Bee snakes are very narcissistic. They like to turn their food into the same skin color as themselves." "Oh yes, they're still lying on your neck and refuse to come down." "Who exactly are you? What exactly do you want?" Lu Jiang roared angrily. He was really furious. "Who did I offend? I went to the airport to send someone off, but I met a psychopath." The key was that this psychopath was very lethal. He felt goosebumps all over his body when he was stared at with that kind of gaze. His back was gloomy, as if he was being watched by a group of terrifying poisonous creatures. "Where is Jiang Shangxin?" the dark and skinny man asked aloud. Lu Jiang became calm instantly. He looked at the dark and skinny man and asked, "Are you Fang Yan's man? Come back and answer my question. Where is Jiang Shangxin?" "She has already boarded the plane," Lu Jiang said. Now that the plane has taken off, the dark and skinny man frowned and said, "The plane can't take off, and she can't go to Paris." Chapter 555. I'm sorry to inform all of you that the plane cannot take off due to air traffic control. Whoosh. There was a commotion in the cabin. Why is it air traffic control again? Who can tell me what is air traffic control? Don't ever fly with this airline again. They're always late. Can we turn on our cell phones and play some games? Anyway, the plane cannot take off anytime soon. Tang Yong saw Jiang Shangxin turn around and look at the air stewardess who was explaining to the passengers. He smiled and said, "There are more and more air traffic control nowadays. No matter what the reason is, they always use air traffic control as an excuse." Seeing that Jiang Shangxin did not respond, Tang Yong continued, "You have to drink more warm water. It's good for your body. Don't catch a cold at this time. If that happens, your body's immune system will be weakened and your wound may become infected. If you don't mind, I can accompany you to the hospital when we reach Paris. I have a friend who is a doctor there." "Thank you." Jiang Shangxin thanked him again. "It's okay." "Miss, do you always keep people at arm's length?" "No," Jiang Shangxin replied. "I pulled a man to the toilet in the bar and asked him to use me, but he rejected me. This happened last night." Tang Yong felt that there was no way to continue this topic. The man beside her stopped hitting on her, and Jiang Shangxin finally got the peace that she wanted. She thought about her father's tragic death, her mother's heartlessness, her husband's viciousness, and the huge and fickle family. At this moment, Jiang Shangxin's heart was as cold as ice. She felt that she was an orphan who was being abandoned by the whole world. As Jiang Shangxin was in the first-class cabin, the service she received was different. A stewardess rushed over and said, "Miss, please wait for a moment. The plane will take off soon. Would you like something to drink?" "No need," Jiang Shangxin replied. "Thank you." Jiang Shangxin asked for a blanket from a stewardess and got ready to lie down and rest. She did not sleep last night and encountered such an incident early in the morning. She felt extremely exhausted. "Sir, what's the matter?" "Sir, you can't go in." The voice of the stewardess came from the door. "I'm sorry. I'm looking for someone. Please make an exception. I'll leave soon." A familiar man's voice rang out. Shangxin widened her eyes in disbelief and stared at Fang Yan, who had appeared at the cabin door with a smile on his face. Jiang Shangxin's mouth moved, and she wanted to say something. However, her eyes revealed her emotions first. Large drops of tears rolled down her cheeks, as if something was stuck in her throat. Jiang Shangxin had never thought that there would be a man who would still think about her and be willing to do such a thing for her when her husband and mother had abandoned her. In order to keep his departing girlfriend, a man used all kinds of methods to delay the plane and then ran to the plane to confess in front of countless passengers. Wasn't this a classic scene in idol dramas? Fang Yan walked toward Jiang Shangxin step by step. Smiling, he asked, "I'm not late." This made Shangxin's tears flow even more rapidly. Unable to speak, she could only shake her head to express her feelings. "Follow me back." Fang Yan reached out his hand to Shangxin. Jiang Shangxin wiped her tears with her sleeves, but did not agree to Fang Yan's request. "I spent so much effort to chase after you. You won't reject me, right?" Fang Yan smiled and said, "There are so many people watching. How embarrassing would that be for me? Let's go, follow me back. We're not going to Paris." Jiang Shangxin was hesitant. What was the meaning of going back with Fang Yan? What was her relationship with Fang Yan? Would Fang Yan be able to provide her with a safe harbor? Furthermore, if she went back, what would Jiang Jialing think? What would Jiang Zhulu think? How would they treat her? Would they make things difficult for her mother? No matter how cold she was to her, she was still her mother. She was her only family member in this world. Fang Yan had already attracted everyone's attention the moment he appeared. When he reached out his hand to Jiang Shangxin, Everyone's gaze became interested. It would be a good thing for them to watch a romantic drama when they were flying. Seeing that the female lead, Jiang Shangxin, was hesitant, the audience automatically played the role of a minor character in an idol drama. Everyone shouted together, "Follow him, follow him, follow him." All the passengers on the plane were shouting, and the shouts were getting louder and louder. Even the captain opened the cockpit door and looked over. Jiang Shangxin wiped her tears with a tissue and looked at Fang Yin with her red and swollen eyes. She said, "Fang Yin, thank you, but I can't go back." "Why can't you go back?" Fang Yin smiled and said, "If others don't care about your life, then don't let them control your life. The place you're going to is not a good place for you. Let's go, follow me back." "Fang Yin, follow me back." Tang Yong looked at Fang Yin with an unhappy expression and said, "What's wrong with you? She doesn't want to go back. Why must you force her?" Fang Yin glanced at Tang Yong and said, "I didn't force her. I just wanted her to have another choice. She has already made her choice. She doesn't want to go back." Tang Yong said with a gloomy face. He shouted at the air stewardess, "Air stewardess, what's going on now? Can the plane still fly? Anyone can barge in. What if there are terrorists? Is this the professionalism of the airline?" The air stewardess had no choice but to persuade him. "Sir, the plane is about to take off. Can you please get off the plane immediately? You will affect the other passengers and the normal operation of the plane." Fang Yin looked at the air stewardess apologetically and said, I'm sorry. I'll leave after saying a few words. Very soon. It won't take up too much of everyone's time." "Sir," Fang Yin reached out to Jiang Shangxin again and said, "I know that this is the only way out for you. I am willing to give you another choice. Why?" Jiang Shangxin stared at Fang Yin and asked, "A friend of mine once said that if someone can give you a bowl of water when you're thirsty, if someone can give you a coat when you're cold, if someone reaches out a hand when someone is down and out, that bowl of water, coat, and hand will be magnified infinitely and become her entire world. She also said that she has experienced what you have been through before, and it makes one feel hopeless just thinking about it. Therefore, she felt that I should take a step out and not wait for a pitiful woman to walk back on her own. Therefore, I rushed over to look for you." Jiang Shangxin's eyes teared up again, and she said, "That woman, is she Lu Chaoga?" Fang Yin nodded and said, "She is my friend and also a very great woman. I think that if there is a chance, the two of you will definitely become friends." Jiang Shangxin nodded and said, "She does understand me. You don't know how touched I was when you appeared at the cabin door, but Fang Yin, I can't go back. I can't only think about myself. I have to think about my family. She hurt me and protected me at the same time. I can't make her situation more difficult. I understand your concerns, but have you thought about it? When you reach Paris, who will guarantee your safety?" Jiang Shangxin stared at Fang Yin with her eyes wide open and said, "What do you mean? How is this possible?" She had already agreed to go to Paris and agreed to leave the familiar environment and life. She had even made up her mind to never return. Why were they still unwilling to let her go? Fang Yin sighed softly and said, "No one will believe a woman who has a change of heart. Since they have made the decision to let you leave, they must already know what happened in the bar, right?" Jiang Shangxin remained silent. Of course they knew. If they didn't know, why would they be in such a hurry to chase her out of Huaqing and to France? "Trust me one more time, just like last night." Fang Yin smiled gently and reached out his hand to Jiang Shangxin again. "I know what kind of people they are. I know them better than you." Jiang Shangxin was tempted. Looking at Fang Yin's eyes, she couldn't help but want to reach out her hand. "You idiot. She already said that she doesn't want to go back. What right do you have to threaten her?" Tang Yong shouted angrily and raised his hand to slap Fang Yin's arm. Fang Yin used the little dragon catcher hand to counterattack, but he didn't expect Tang Yong to dodge it. Fang Yin reached out again, and Tang Yong actually punched Fang Yin's face. Bam! Fang Yin stabbed Tang Yong's eyes with his fingers like knives. Tang Yong's face was full of fear, but he didn't dodge it. He gritted his teeth and waited for Fang Yin's attack. If Fang Yin dared to hurt someone on the plane, he would be taken away by the air traffic police as a terrorist. Fang Yin's fingers clenched into a fist, and then his fist lightly hit Tang Yong's chest. Bam! Tang Yong flew backward, as if he had been electrocuted, and his body landed heavily on the cabin. Fang Yin, Jiang Shangxin hurriedly stopped him and said, "He helped me just now." Although Jiang Shangxin didn't like Tang Yong's interruptions and attempts to strike up a conversation, he didn't hate him either. Furthermore, he was the one who helped to bandage his wound just now. He didn't want Fang Yin to hurt Tang Yong either. Fang Yin stared at Tang Yong with a sharp gaze and said, "Don't you find it strange? Why is there a martial arts expert sitting next to you? And he was so vehemently against me bringing you back." Jiang Shangxin stared at Tang Yong in shock, as if she was looking at a poisonous scorpion. Chapter 556. Fang Yan's reminder was timely, but it was also fatal. Why did Tang Yong flirt with her again and again? Why was he not only proficient in medicine, but also in martial arts? Why did he react so strongly when Fang Yin asked him to bring her back? Why? Jiang Shangxin knew that this could be a coincidence, and she was willing to believe that it was. However, she knew that it was impossible. Being born in such a family, she clearly knew how to deal with disobedient children. Tang Yong was another undercover agent from the Jiang family, and his mission was to send her to Paris safely, just like her mother's chauffeur, Lu Jiang. However, what would happen after they arrived in Paris? Were they really going to take action against her? Jiang Shangxin's face turned pale, and she felt that it was difficult for her to breathe. She did not want to think of them in the worst way, but the facts that were happening in front of her made her feel like her beliefs were collapsing. "Who are you?" Jiang Shangxin stared at Tang Yong and asked. Tang Yong stared at Fang Yin fiercely and said, "Who am I? I am just a stranger who pitied you and wanted to help you. So what if I know martial arts? Since ancient times, medicine and martial arts have always been inseparable. I learned medicine from my father, so I naturally learned some martial arts. This is the first time I heard that doing good deeds is also a form of conspiracy." Tang Yong looked at Jiang Shangxin with pity and said, "Miss, I checked the wound on your hand just now. Someone bit you, right? Who would do such a disgusting thing? That is a pervert. That is a lunatic. He has already treated you this way. How can you still believe his sweet words? If you go back with him, what if he treats you like this again? What if he does something even more cruel to you?" Fang Yin had already noticed the bandage on Shangxin's hand, but he did not know what kind of wound it was or what caused it. He thought that Jiang Shangxin was accidentally injured because they were too crazy in the bar last night. After all, Jiang Shangxin had not come out of the ladies' toilet when he parted ways with her. He was not sure what happened after that. Now that he heard Tang Yong say this, he realized that there was more to it than meets the eye. Jiang Shangxin was bitten by someone. Moreover, the guy in front of her with bad intentions wanted to push the blame to her. Fang Yin was furious. "I'm not a dog. Why would I bite people?" There was a tinge of doubt in Jiang Shangxin's eyes. Could it be that Tang Yong wasn't a spy that the Jiang family had arranged around her? Just as he said, he was just a stranger who wanted to help her. Jiang Shangxin was a top-notch beauty. She would often receive compliments from others or selfless help from some men. It wasn't entirely impossible for such a thing to happen. Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yin and then at Tang Yong. She didn't know what choice she should make next. The stewardess was a little anxious. She stood next to him and urged again, "Sir, the plane is about to take off. Please get off the plane immediately. Otherwise, we will have to call the police. Disrupting flight safety was a serious crime." Fang Yin really didn't want to be taken away by the airport police. As such, he reached out to grab Jiang Shangxin's arm. "Get off the plane with me first. Then, we will find a place for you to think about it. If you insist on leaving, I will help you buy a ticket for the next flight to France. If you are willing to stay, I will bring you to a safe place and guarantee your personal safety." When Tang Yong saw that Fang Yin wanted to pull him away, he swung his fist toward Fang Yan's face again. Huff! The punch was swift and fierce. It seemed like he had some foundation. Fang Yin took a step to the side and dodged Tang Yong's attack. Then, he reached out with lightning speed and grabbed the vital acupuncture point on Tang Yong's wrist. Tang Yong's body instantly became paralyzed, as if he had been electrocuted. If not for Fang Yan's help, he might not have been able to stand. Tang Yong struggled with all his might. However, he still couldn't escape from Fong Yan's grasp. An abnormal flush appeared on his face. Due to the pain, his facial features were deeply scrunched up. When the air stewardess saw that there was a fight, she hurriedly stopped them and said, "Sir, please stop. If not, I will call the police." Fong Yan smiled and said, "I did not fight. He wanted to hit me, but I blocked him. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance cameras in the cabin." Of course, no matter what the other party's motive was, Fong Yin would not tangle with a small fry like Tang Yong. He let go of Tang Yong's arm. Tang Yong's body fell to the ground as if he had contracted osteochondrosis. "Sir," a few air stewardesses ran over to help Tang Yong up. Fong Yin grabbed Jiang Shangxin's wrist and said in a tough manner, "Get off the plane with me." Then, he pulled Jiang Shangxin and walked out of the plane. Oh, the passengers on the plane cheered and applauded as if they had just witnessed the prince killing the evil dragon. The air stewardesses helped Tang Yong back to his seat and asked with concern, "Sir, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Tang Yong flung the air stewardess's hand away with a bad attitude and ran out of the cabin behind Fong Yin. After running for a few steps, his knees gave way and he fell to the ground again. What he did not know was that when Fong Yin grabbed the Jinlan acupoint on his wrist just now, he had used a small amount of force and destroyed the energy in his body. Once the energy in his body collapsed, it would be very difficult to gather energy. In the future, it would not be easy for him to even walk like a normal person, let alone practice martial arts. Perhaps Jiang Shangxin still had some doubts about Tang Yong's identity, but Fong Yin already knew the man's motive the moment he saw Tang Yong. His own kind understood a man the best. Tang Yong could not continue chasing after Fong Yin. He hurriedly took out his cell phone from his pocket and dialed a number. He said anxiously. Fong Yin snatched him away. "Idiot!" The man on the other side of the phone roared angrily. The air stewardesses came over to help Tang Yong up again. Tang Yong did not reject them and only asked them to send him off the plane. Now that his target had disappeared, there was no reason for him to go to Paris. Fong Yin dragged Jiang Shangxin's hand and rushed all the way to the resting area of the arrival hall. It was a little strenuous for Jiang Shangxin to run in her high heels. She only looked at Fong Yin after she had sat down on the sofa in the VIP room and asked, "Will there be any trouble?" "No," Fong Yin said with absolute certainty. "If you go to Paris, then there will really be trouble." Jiang Shangxin stared at Fong Yin with bright eyes and bitter lips. She remained silent for a long time. Fong Yin looked at the wound on her finger and asked, "Jiang Zhulu is here? How do you know it was him?" Jiang Shangxin asked. Then she laughed bitterly and said, "That's right. Who else could it be other than him? Jiang Zhulu is like a mad dog now. Are you all right?" Fong Yin asked. "I'm fine." Jiang Shangxin shook her head and said, "Thank you to the man just now. He was the one who helped me bandage it. I know that he is the person who arranged for the Jiang family to be by my side, but I still don't want to believe it. I really don't want to think of human nature in such a dirty and despicable way." Fong Yin nodded and said, "I'll help you take a look when we get back. You don't have to say anything. Calm down and think about it. Stay here or go to Paris. Tell me when you have an answer." After he finished speaking, Fong Yin took out a newspaper and read it seriously. Jiang Shangxin looked at the way Fong Yin read the newspaper attentively and couldn't help but be entranced. "Why?" Jiang Shangxin asked. "Why what?" Fong Yin asked without raising his head. "Why did you save me?" "I remember that I already told you the reason on the plane," Fong Yin said. "Was it just because of sympathy? Did you misunderstand that I like you?" Fong Yin was shocked. "No, don't think too much, really? Not even a little bit. You'd better go to Paris." In the end, Jiang Shangxin decided to go back with Fong Yin. Just like what Fong Yin had said, she didn't need to let people who didn't care about their lives control her life. More importantly, her life wouldn't be guaranteed if she went to Paris. Everything was full of uncertainty when one was in a foreign country. If she was attacked on the streets or robbed, she would lose her life. If she stayed in the country, at least Fong Yin would be able to protect her. At least she still had Fong Yin to rely on. Life was like a dream, unpredictable and unpredictable. It was too ironic that an enemy of the past would become someone she could rely on in the future. When Fang Yin drove Jiang Shangxin back, a black Volkswagen SUV followed closely behind them. Fang Yin took a look at the rearview mirror and said, "They caught up with us. They really trust me," Jiang Shangxin said with a fierce look. "What?" Fang Yin asked. "Why do they want to kill you?" Jiang Shangxin glanced at Fang Yin and said, "Fang Yin, you are such a hypocrite. You didn't like me from the start, but you didn't reject me when I asked you to buy me a drink. I caused trouble in the bar and took the initiative to smash someone's head with a wine bottle, but you still tried your best to protect me from any harm. Didn't you want to get something to use against Jiang Junling for me? Now that the two of you are in a stalemate and watching, and neither of you can do anything to the other, it must be very painful, right?" Fang Yin didn't feel embarrassed that his privacy was exposed. He explained, "When I agreed to buy you a drink, I did have some thoughts about you. At that time, I was still hoping that you might be able to mend your ways. If you were a mole, it would indeed be easier for me to deal with Jiang Junling. However, after I got to know you, I gave up on this idea and treated you as a friend. I'm talking to you and interacting with you as a friend. I don't want to get anything from you, not even the slightest clue. If you still look at me like that at this time, it is the most serious insult to the word friend if I expose some scandals about Jiang Junling to you. Will you accept it?" "Yes," Fang Yin said. Chapter 557. Accept. Of course he had to accept. Just like what Jiang Shangxin had said, the reason why Fang Yin tried so hard to please Jiang Shangxin, treated her to drinks, helped her fight, and even allowed her to touch his body, wasn't it because he wanted to get some juicy information from her? Now that he had come back to his senses, a promiscuous woman was more valuable than gold. Strange. Why did the word promiscuous sound so weird when it was replaced with promiscuous woman? Could it be that a woman could not turn back after doing something wrong? Or could it be that there was no turning back? Jiang Shangxin was willing to give Fang Yin some juicy information about his old rival, Jiang Junling, which made Fang Yin very happy. Jiang Shangxin sneered and said, "Don't you think that I am insulting you now? We are already friends. If you still hide things from your friend, that is the most serious insult to the word friend." Fang Yin turned the car onto Kunshan Road and sped toward the city. The Volkswagen behind him sped up at the same time and followed closely behind the BMW. After a period of delay, it was already 9 o'clock in the morning. The cool breeze stopped, the fog dissipated, and the veil in the sky was lifted. The red sun slowly rose into the sky, giving off a lazy glow. The number of cars on the road gradually increased, and even the suburbs of Huaqing began to glow with vitality. The Volkswagen continued to speed up until it was about to overtake the BMW that Fang Yin was in. The car windows were opened, and the pitch-black muzzles were aimed at the BMW. Fang Yin didn't expect them to dare to make a move on the main road, and he didn't expect them to use guns. "Sit properly," Fang Yin shouted anxiously. As he warned Jiang Shangxin, he took the initiative to drive the BMW toward the Volkswagen beside him. Crash! The right side of the BMW hit the body of the Volkswagen. The Volkswagen couldn't bear the weight, and the front of the car lost its balance and swerved left and right. The body of the car also moved to the side. Bang, bang, bang. Someone fired continuously. One of the bullets hit the rear of the BMW, and more bullets flew out. Fang Yin increased the distance between the two cars. Then he started the car again and hit the Volkswagen. Quang! The body of the Volkswagen caved in, and the car let out a roar as it moved towards the edge of the road. Fang Yin. He leaned Shangxin's body against the seat and gripped the seat belt tightly. Every time Fang Yin hit her, it made her dizzy. She was sitting on the side of the impact. If the car broke or disintegrated, she would be the first victim. Perhaps before Fang Yin killed the killer in the Volkswagen, he would have killed her first. "Sit still and don't move, it'll be fine." Fang Yin comforted her. He was not reckless, nor was he arrogant. The reason why he dared to use this BMW to crash into the Volkswagen again and was not afraid of knocking Shangxin, who was sitting beside him, to death, was because he knew the origin of this BMW. This BMW T9 series was specially ordered by Audiobook Technology from BMW in Germany. The body of the car weighed 6 tons, and important parts, such as the door and the front, were all made of rare metals. Although it was not bulletproof, it could prevent collisions and effectively protect the driver and the passengers in the cabin. This car had always been Liu Chaoga's car. After a series of attacks on Liu Chaoga, the Qin family did not dare to let Liu Chaoga take the risk of driving alone. As a result, the security personnel equipped him with a more sturdy and bulletproof custom-made GMC car. As Audiobook technology developed rapidly and fiercely, Liu Chaoga's importance increased, and there were fewer and fewer opportunities to use this car. When Fang Yin returned to Huacheng, he naturally became the new owner of this BMW. Hearing Fang Yan's comforting words, Shangxin could only grip the seatbelt tightly and completely entrust her life to Fang Yin. Quang. Fang Yin drove the BMW and crashed into it again. Quang. It was another fierce collision. The body of the Volkswagen became more and more damaged, and the side of the car door facing Fang Yin was already deeply indented. The car door cracked open, and the shooter got up again and fired in the direction of Fang Yin and Shangxin. Bang! The bullet hit the car door and was reflected by the rare metal. At the same time, Fang Yin finally saw the shooter in the Volkswagen. He had shifty eyes and a huge mole on his chin. He was ugly to begin with, and the black mole made him look even more wretched. When the shooter wanted to continue shooting, Fang Yin drove the BMW and crashed into it again. Quang, quang, quang again and again. It moved horizontally and collided with the car again and again. The Volkswagen had already been forced to the edge of the road, and the car tilted unevenly to one side. Quang. Fang Yin stepped hard on the accelerator and slammed the car with the most force he had ever used. Quang, quang, quang. The body of the Volkswagen rolled and crashed into the ditch by the side of the road. Fang Yin did not stop the car. He drove away after crashing the Volkswagen into the ditch. Jiang Shangxin heaved a long sigh of relief. When she turned around, she could only see a thick cloud of smoke, and she could no longer see the Volkswagen that had been following closely behind them. It must have liked its new home very much. "Are you all right?" Fang Yin asked. "I'm fine," Jiang Shangxin said dejectedly. "Fang Yin, they wanted to kill me just now. They might have wanted to kill me too," Fang Yin said. "No, they wanted to kill me," Jiang Shangxin said firmly. "I know that they were aiming at me, and I know this feeling very well. Is this what it feels like to be a family member?" This is what it feels like to be a family member? It's really disappointing. What exactly have you mastered? Fang Yin asked. What? Jiang Shangxin asked. I mean, why did they do this to you? Don't you think that they were too anxious? What kind of information did Jiang Shangxin have on them? Why did they want to get rid of her without any regard for the consequences? Of course, they might want to get rid of him, but Fang Yin was very clear that the possibility of this happening was very low. If Jiang Junling wanted to get rid of Fang Yin, he would at least choose a slightly more secluded location and use a more obscure method. There was no need to play such a scary game in broad daylight. This was a murder, not a movie. They were very anxious, and they did not want Jiang Shangxin to come back or get together with him. In that case, there was only one explanation. What kind of secret did Jiang Shangxin have on her? He was really curious. Jiang Shangxin's expression changed slightly, but she did not answer Fang Yan's question. Even if they don't like you, even if they don't want to see you get together with me, they don't have to make it so obvious. They can take their time to deal with this matter and let you receive the punishment they want to give you, but not now, not this morning. Jiang Shangxin's mouth moved, but she did not say anything. Fang Yin patted her thigh, which was wrapped in jeans, and said with a smile, "I know this is a difficult choice, so you don't have to tell me the answer." Jiang Shangxin lowered her head and did not say a word. No one knew what she was thinking. "Be careful," Fang Yin suddenly shouted. As he shouted, he had already turned the steering wheel and rushed toward the ditch on the left side of the road. The car rumbled like a beast in heat. Screech! Fang Yin stepped on the brakes, but the car continued to slide forward. Screech, screech, screech. The front half of the car was suspended in the air, and the rear half of the car was caught by a tree stump by the roadside. A moment of carelessness, and the car fell into the ditch by the roadside. Crack! A huge rock flew over their heads and landed on the stone ground far away, smashing into pieces. Rocks flew everywhere, and the car was hit with a loud bang. Jiang Shangxin wanted to unbuckle the seatbelt, but Fang Yin stopped her and said, "Don't move." Jiang Shangxin looked at Fang Yin doubtfully, but still decided to listen to his arrangements. She was not a woman who liked to rely on others, and she still maintained her independent personality even when facing a strong person like Jiang Zhulu. However, when she met Fang Yin, she always followed his instructions out of habit. Fang Yin did not get out of the car either. After he pressed the reverse gear, he tapped on the accelerator with the tip of his foot and reversed the BMW. With a sharp turn, the car stopped beautifully by the side of the road. Fang Yin unbuckled the seatbelt and held Jiang Shangxin's hand as he got out of the car. There was another black car parked by the side of the road, and an old man wearing a black shirt and a pair of sunglasses stood on the roof of the car with a bamboo pole in his hand. He looked at Fang Yin, who was walking toward them, with a serious expression on his face. The fisherman. He was a close friend of Fang Yin's grandfather, Fang Huwei, and a senior martial artist who had repeatedly given Fang Yin pointers. However, he had another identity, Jiang Junling's consecrator. If possible, Fang Yin really did not want to get into a fight with this old man whom he respected. However, looking at the situation today, he was afraid that the problem would not be solved without a fight. Fang Yin's head was throbbing, and he wished he could dig a hole and hide in it. Fang Yin stood far away and looked at the fisherman, whose clothes were fluttering in the autumn wind. He chuckled and said, "Old master, are you fishing? If you want to fish, go to the sea. Why did you come to this place where there is no river or sea? Who said that you have to go to a place where there is a river and sea to fish? Didn't I give you a great white shark just now?" That trick of luring the shark from the east was indeed not bad. But isn't it a little too much? I didn't provoke you. Why did you lure the shark to eat me? The fisherman looked at Fang Yin and said seriously, "Fang Yin, you are very smart, and you should know the purpose of my trip. That trick just now was just a test. If you don't cooperate, the next shark will swallow you. I know what you want." Fang Yin said angrily, "Fine, I promise you. Let her leave, and I will stay to accompany you." Chapter 558. The fisherman's face darkened, and he almost fell off the roof of the car due to Fang Yin's anger. "The person I want is Jiang Shangxin, and the person I want to bring back is also Jiang Shangxin. Why should I keep you here? What do you mean by you know what I want? If you really knew what I wanted, would you still say such stupid words that made me want to beat you up?" The fisherman glared at Fang Yin and shouted, "Fang Yin, don't be unreasonable. You are the unreasonable one." Fang Yin said, "If you are not unreasonable, why did you come here early in the morning to block the road? Why did you fish up a huge rock to smash my car? Do you know that if it wasn't for my quick reflexes and good driving skills, both of our lives would have been gone just now? You would have been a murderer by now. Even if we didn't die, it would be an attempted murder. As long as I make a call, the police can arrest you and bring you back to jail. If you meet some perverts, you will have to pick up the soap for them." "Pick up the soap? What soap?" The fisherman was old and never went online, so he didn't understand the deep meaning behind the words "pick up the soap." Fang Yin looked at the fisherman's old face and said, "But you don't have to worry about this problem. Probably. Those male prisoners won't be interested in you, right? They like young men with fair skin and tender flesh. You shameless person." The fisherman finally understood the close relationship between staying in jail and picking up the soap. He flew into a rage and wanted to fight with Fang Yin with the fishing rod in his hand. Fang Yin patted Jiang Shangxin's shoulder and said, "Leave. The person they want is me. I will go with them." Jiang Shangxin shook her head. She knew that the person they wanted was her. She was the person involved in the incident. If she were to leave just like that, where would Fang Yin be? Fang Yin was her benefactor, her savior. She, the person involved, had passed away and pushed all the problems, responsibilities, and dangers onto Fang Yin. She could not do such a thing. She could do it in the past, but not now. "Let's go." Fong Yin shouted angrily. I'm not your man, nor am I your lover. There's no need for you to stay and die with me. Even if you say so, I won't believe you. Let's go. Let's not delay our men's negotiation, Fong Yin. The fisherman felt that it was better for him to make things clearer. Otherwise, this kid would keep pretending to be crazy. After dealing with him a few times, he could roughly gauge his kung fu, but his shamelessness was unfathomable. You can go, but she has to stay. Fong Yin stared at the fisherman with wide eyes and said, You're already so old, and you still want to hit on a little girl? Are you okay now? All right, don't stand on top of the car and act like Superman. The wind is strong, and the waves are strong. You have to be careful not to hurt your waist. Fong Yin, don't slander me. I'm not that kind of person. Fong Yin had a serious expression on his face and said in an extremely serious tone, Senior, if you're really a kind and virtuous person, why would you do such a thing? You should know what kind of person Jiang Junling is, and you should also know what kind of punishment she will face when she returns. Senior, you're also from the underworld, so you should be familiar with the principles of martial arts. Don't bully others with martial arts. Don't use your power to bully others. Senior, you can't be considered a real martial artist by doing this, right? If Shangxin really meets with misfortune after she returns, how can you bear to do so? Will your heart of martial arts not be damaged at all? One has no choice in the underworld. The fisherman was a little down and sighed. It's not convenient for me to tell you the reason, but I must bring this girl back. Fong Yin, I don't want to fight with you. You should leave. Fong Yin smiled and said, If I leave just like that, what kind of man would I be? Fong Yin held Shangxin's wrist and said, When I chased her back, I promised her that I would ensure her safety. It's not that a man's promise is worth 1,000 taels of gold, which man hasn't lied to others before. I just feel that since I've said it in front of so many people, I can only try my best to fulfill it. I am a man who cares about his reputation. The rims of Jiang Shangxin's eyes were red, and large droplets of tears rolled down her cheeks. She wasn't a pretentious woman, but the feeling of being taken care of and protected by someone was really heartwarming. It was like a salmon fillet that had been dipped in a large amount of wasabi. When one bit into it, all the hair on her body stood up and tears gushed out. The more she endured, the more intense the feeling became. It was impossible to guard against. She didn't get this feeling from her father, because she had a cold relationship with her father since she was very young. She didn't get this feeling from her mother, because her mother was very busy and didn't have time to take care of her. She didn't get this feeling from her husband either, because she didn't need him when he could protect her, but when she needed him to protect her, he stood against her. She didn't get this feeling from her other relatives, because they wouldn't offend Jiang Junling, who was very influential in the Jiang family, just for her. But she got it from Fong Yin, a man who was originally unrelated to her, or rather, hostile to her. It was a very strange feeling and a very ridiculous thing. Jiang Shangxin pushed Fong Yin's palm away, took 2 steps forward, looked at the fisherman, and said, Let's go. I will go back with you. I know that my brother wants me. He is afraid. The fisherman looked at Jiang Shangxin and said, Get in the car. Jiang Shangxin turned to look at Fong Yin and said, Fong Yin, you have done what you promised. I know that you are a man who is very guarded, and you won't believe anything that others say easily. But I still want to tell you, it's nice to meet you. It's really a very happy thing. Thank you. After Jiang Shangxin finished speaking, she walked toward the black car under the feet of the fisherman. Fong Yin grabbed Jiang Shangxin's arm and said, Do you know what it means for you to go back with him? I know. Jiang Shangxin said, I know it even more clearly than you think. Fong Yin, I have known my brother for more than 20 years. I know what kind of person he is. Fong Yin shook his head and said, Whether you know it or not, I will not let you go. You have to listen to me on this matter. Don't think that I'm doing this for my own good. I don't feel good about not being able to bring you back. Fong Yin looked at the fisherman and said, Either you let her go, or I will go with her. The fisherman raised the fishing rod in his hand and said, Since this is the case, let's see what we can do. Everyone says that you are the leader of the resurgence of the Taiji sect. I want to see if you can carry this burden. Put in some effort. Don't embarrass your grandfather. Fang Yin sighed and said, Shangxin is just a weak and powerless woman. Do you have the heart to bring her back? You have practiced martial arts all your life, just to bully a woman with a pitiful background? The fisherman was furious. He shook the fish tank in his hand, and a silk line wrapped around Fang Yan's neck. He scolded loudly and said, You rascal, you have broken my state of mind again. You are as despicable and shameless as your grandfather. The brave had no fear. During a battle, if one had a reason to win and a fighting spirit to win, then it would have an additional effect on oneself during the battle. Fang Yin deliberately made Shangxin sound pitiful and described her as a little rabbit that was being bullied by others, and the fisherman was the accomplice that was going to send the little rabbit into the big bad wolf's mouth. In this way, the fisherman would lose his righteous stance and the reason to win during the battle with Fang Yin. Breaking one's state of mind and weakening one's fighting spirit, Fang Yin was already invincible on the mental level before the battle even started. Most importantly, could it be that Fang Yan's grandfather, Fang Huwei, often did such things when he was fighting with others? From the fisherman's angry roar, it was obvious that this was not the first time he had suffered a loss in front of the Fang family. Swoosh! The fishing line was like a steel knife, and it quickly and silently coiled around Fang Yan's neck. If the fishing line wrapped around Fang Yan's neck, it would only take a gentle pull for his head to be chopped off. With a lift of his wrist, Fang Yin sent Shangxin's body far away. Shangxin only felt that she was lifted up by a gust of air, and her body was completely out of her control. By the time she landed, she was already a few meters away from the battlefield. At the same time that Fang Yin sent Jiang Shangxin away, he tapped the tip of his foot on the ground and leaped high into the air. He leaped very high, and he stepped on the fishing line with his feet. His body rose into the air and charged toward the fisherman who was standing on the roof of the car. He waved his hands and attacked the fisherman 38 times in a row. His palms were silent, but they stirred up a strong airflow. The 38 palms merged together and formed a tornado-like storm, and the eye of the storm was the fisherman who was standing on the roof of the car. Cloud-expelling palm. Fang Yan's body spun 360 degrees in the air, and he smashed down in the fisherman's direction with a powerful aura. Clang! When the airflow swept past, a huge hole appeared where the fisherman was standing. The entire roof of the car sank into the car, and the driver wanted to escape, but he was stuck between the car doors. However, the real target of the attack, the fisherman, was nowhere to be seen. Bam! When Fang Yin landed on the ground, he looked at the fisherman who was hanging upside down on the tree by the roadside. You are so young, but you can summon clouds and rain with a flip of your hand. You can create a storm in an instant and destroy everything. Not bad at all. The fisherman's expression was solemn, but there was a sense of gratification in his tone. He said, I don't have any grandchildren. Old man Fang has been arrogant all his life, but it's worth it to have a grandson like you. That you're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.